There's a moment in life we all share, a split second that feels like it lasts forever. It's when you realize you've done something wrong, something that leaves a mark. Maybe it's something you said in anger, something you didn't say when someone needed you, or a choice you made that haunts you like a shadow. That knot in your stomach, the endless replay in your mind, the words, "I should have done better," circling like a broken record. It's all too familiar. It doesn't matter who you are or where you come from. This feeling connects us as humans. And yet, so many of us carry it in silence, afraid to let it go, unsure if we're even allowed to. Think back to a moment when you wished you could rewind time. Not just press pause, but actually go back and make it right. Maybe you disappointed someone you care about, hurt someone unintentionally, or let yourself down in a way that still stings. Those memories don't just sit in the past. They stick to you, influencing how you see yourself and how you live today. They can feel like a heavy bag you're forced to carry everywhere, a burden you don't deserve but can't seem to put down. But what if that weight wasn't meant to be carried forever? What if that knot in your stomach, those restless nights, that harsh inner voice criticizing every move you make, what if they could be transformed? Not ignored or suppressed, but truly understood, processed, and released. What if that feeling of guilt wasn't there to punish you, but to guide you towards something greater? That's the journey we're about to take together. Let's start with a story that might feel all too familiar. There was a man named Arun, a kind-hearted and hard-working individual who prided himself on being there for the people he loved. Arun wasn't perfect, nobody is, but he genuinely tried his best. One day his sister called asking for a small favor. She needed help moving some furniture. Arun, exhausted from work and juggling other responsibilities, told her he couldn't make it. He promised to help another day, but life got in the way, and he forgot. Weeks turned into months, and they spoke less often. It wasn't until much later, after their father's passing, that Arun learned just how much that small favor had meant to her. She had been feeling isolated, and that one moment could have been a chance for connection. Arun was devastated. He replayed the memory over and over, wondering how he could have been so blind to her needs. If only I had gone, he thought. If only I had known. The regret wrapped itself around him like a suffocating blanket. He started avoiding his sister, ashamed of what he perceived as his failure to be a good brother. And while she never held it against him, Arun couldn't let it go. He began questioning his worth, not just as a brother but as a person. Regret can be like that. It plants seeds of doubt that grow roots deep into your sense of self. Arun's mistake wasn't monumental, it wasn't criminal or malicious, but the story in his mind made it enormous. Every time he thought about it, the pain felt fresh, as though no time had passed. And the worst part? Arun wasn't just punishing himself for what he'd done. He was punishing himself for who he thought he was. A bad brother, a bad person, someone unworthy of forgiveness. The truth is, Arun's story isn't unique. We've all had moments like his, moments that make us feel small and flawed, moments where we label ourselves based on our worst choices. But this isn't the end of the story. There's a shift that can happen, a way to break free from that cycle of guilt and self-judgment. Arun's turning point came unexpectedly. He attended a meditation class his colleague had recommended, not because he believed it would help, but because he had nothing to lose. The teacher, an older woman with a calm presence, began the session with a simple statement: "We are all works in progress, no exceptions. Mistakes are not evidence of failure, they are opportunities to wake up." Those words hit Arun like a bolt of lightning. For the first time, he saw his mistake not as a permanent scar, but as a moment of growth waiting to happen. He wasn't a bad brother. He was someone who had made a choice, learned from it, and had the power to make different choices, moving forward. That perspective didn't erase the past, but it softened its grip on him. Slowly, he began practicing mindfulness, paying attention to the present moment rather than drowning in the regrets of yesterday. He started seeing his sister again, not as an apology, but as a chance to rebuild their bond. And here's the beautiful thing. When Aaron forgave himself, it didn't just lighten his burden, it allowed him to show up fully for others. He became more patient, more empathetic, and more open to the imperfection in everyone, including himself. His mistake had become a teacher, one that guided him toward a deeper understanding of what it means to be human. Now, let's take a moment to reflect on this. How often do we treat ourselves like Arun did? How often do we take a single moment, a single mistake, and let it define us? The truth is, the past cannot be undone, but it doesn't have to hold us hostage. Each of us has the power to take that first step toward self-forgiveness, not by erasing what happened, but by reframing it. Mistakes are inevitable. They're a byproduct of living, of taking risks, of caring deeply, but they're also mirrors, reflecting back to us the areas where we can grow. They're reminders of our shared humanity, of the fact that we're all walking this path together, stumbling and learning as we go. It's not easy. Forgiving yourself can feel like climbing a mountain, especially when guilt and shame weigh heavily on your back. But the climb is worth it. At the top, there's something waiting for you, a version of yourself that understands mistakes not as failures, but as stepping stones. A version of yourself that is kinder, freer, and more at peace. Aaron's story reminds us that the path to self-forgiveness is not about forgetting what happened or pretending it didn't hurt. It's about seeing the bigger picture, about recognizing that mistakes are just one part of the journey, not the whole story. It's about meeting yourself where you are, with compassion and understanding, and taking small steps toward healing. So, what's holding you back? What story are you replaying in your mind? The one where you're the villain of your own life, or the one where you're a human being doing their best? Maybe today is the day to take that first step toward rewriting the narrative. Because if there's one thing Arun's journey teaches us, it's this. Forgiveness doesn't just set you free from the past. It opens the door to the future. And on the other side of that door is a life waiting to be lived, not weighed down by guilt, but lifted by growth. Life has a way of humbling us. No one walks through it unscathed, free from missteps, regrets, or the deep ache of having failed at something important. Mistakes are not rare, they are universal, a shared thread that weaves us all together. Yet, why do they feel so isolating, as though you're the only one who has faltered? This paradox, where mistakes unite us as human beings but make us feel profoundly alone, is a doorway to understanding something deeper. It's not the mistake itself that holds the most weight, it's the meaning we attach to it. Buddhism offers a perspective that shifts this meaning entirely, transforming mistakes from burdens to opportunities for awakening. Let's step into this perspective and see how it can reshape the way we see our imperfections and, ultimately, ourselves. Mistakes in the Buddhist view are not signs of failure, but markers of being alive. Life itself is a continuous process of learning, unlearning, and relearning, and mistakes are simply milestones along that journey. They are not evidence that something is wrong with you, but proof that you are human. In fact, they serve as a mirror, reflecting areas where growth is possible. Buddhism doesn't shy away from mistakes. It embraces them as essential. They are the cracks through which light enters, the moments where self-awareness begins to bloom. Central to this perspective is the concept of imperfection. In the West, perfection is often idolized, a flawless image, a pristine performance, an unattainable ideal that pressures people to hide their flaws. Buddhism, however, teaches that imperfection is the natural state of all things. This teaching is beautifully illustrated in the Japanese art of kintsugi, where broken pottery is repaired with gold, turning cracks into something that adds to the object's beauty. The philosophy behind this art is deeply Buddhist. What is broken is not ruined, it is transformed. Mistakes, like cracks, are not meant to be concealed, but to become part of the story. This perspective is rooted in the Buddhist understanding of dukkha, or suffering. The Buddha's first noble truth acknowledges that life is marked by dukkha, not as a pessimistic declaration, but as a profound recognition of reality. Mistakes are one form of this suffering, but they are not permanent. They are fleeting, like waves in the ocean, rising, peaking, and eventually dissolving back into the water. When you see mistakes in this way, they lose their ability to define you. They become experiences to learn from, not prisons to remain trapped within. What makes this teaching transformative is its connection to self-awareness. Mistakes, when viewed through a Buddhist lens, are not just errors. They are lessons. They are invitations to look inward and ask, what can I learn from this? This is not about self-criticism or endless analysis, but about cultivating mindfulness. Mindfulness allows you to observe a mistake without being consumed by it. It creates space between the event and your emotional reaction, enabling you to respond with clarity rather than react with guilt or shame. This approach doesn't mean dismissing the impact of your actions. Accountability is an essential part of the Buddhist path. When you make a mistake, the first step is to acknowledge it fully, without excuses or justifications. This acknowledgement is not about self-punishment, but about honesty. Buddhism emphasizes the importance of seeing things as they are, not as you wish they were. By facing your mistakes head-on, you begin to dismantle the illusions that keep you stuck. You start to see the difference between who you are and what you've done. Understanding this distinction is key. In Buddhism, the self is not a fixed identity, but a collection of ever-changing experiences, thoughts, and emotions. When you make a mistake, it doesn't mean you are a bad person. It means you made a choice that had consequences. Separating your actions from your identity is liberating. It allows you to address what happened without carrying the weight of labeling yourself as a failure. This separation is further deepened by the Buddhist teaching of anatta, or no self. Anatta challenges the idea that there is a permanent, unchanging self. Instead, it reveals that what you think of as you is a fluid combination of physical sensations, mental processes, and conditioned responses. When you view mistakes through this lens, they lose their power to define you. You see them as events in a larger flow, not as reflections of your worth. This doesn't erase the impact of the mistake, but changes how you relate to it. You are not your mistakes. You are the awareness observing them. Another cornerstone of the Buddhist perspective on mistakes is the practice of compassion. Mistakes often trigger harsh self-judgment, but Buddhism encourages approaching them with kindness instead. This is not about letting yourself off the hook, but about recognizing that beating yourself up only adds to the suffering. Compassion is the antidote to self-criticism. It allows you to hold your mistake with tenderness, acknowledging the pain it caused without letting it consume you. When you cultivate compassion, you create a space where healing can begin. This compassion extends outward as well. When you understand the role of mistakes in your own life, it becomes easier to forgive others for theirs. You realize that everyone is navigating the complexities of being human, making choices based on their own limitations and understanding. This doesn't excuse harmful behavior, but puts it into context. It reminds you that just as you are learning and growing, so is everyone else. Mistakes also teach humility, an essential quality in Buddhism. They remind you that no one has all the answers, that everyone is a work in progress. This humility is not about feeling small or inadequate, but about recognizing your place in the larger tapestry of life. It's about seeing that your mistakes, while significant, are not the end of the story. They are moments of learning that connect you to the greater whole. One of the most profound aspects of the Buddhist view on mistakes is the concept of karma. Karma is often misunderstood as a system of punishment and reward, but in Buddhism it is more accurately described as the law of cause and effect. Every action has consequences, and understanding this can be both humbling and empowering. When you make a mistake, it's an opportunity to see how your choices create ripple effects. This awareness doesn't lead to self-blame, but to a deeper sense of responsibility. It encourages you to act with intention, knowing that each moment offers a chance to create positive change. Buddhism also teaches the value of impermanence, or anicca. Nothing in life is permanent, including your mistakes. They are moments in time, not eternal truths. This perspective can bring immense relief, reminding you that the pain of a mistake will not last forever. It also emphasizes the importance of moving forward. Dwelling on the past keeps you stuck, but recognizing impermanence frees you to focus on the present moment, where real change happens. At its core, the Buddhist view of mistakes is about balance. It's about holding yourself accountable without tipping into self-condemnation. It's about learning from the past without being imprisoned by it. It's about being imperfect as an integral part of life's beauty. This balance is encapsulated in the middle way, a foundational principle in Buddhism. The middle way avoids extremes, neither denying your mistakes nor being consumed by them. It encourages a path of moderation where mistakes are acknowledged, learned from, and then released. This release is not an act of forgetting, but of transforming. Mistakes are not erased. They are integrated into the fabric of your growth. They become teachers, guiding you toward greater wisdom and compassion. They show you where you've been and point you toward where you can go. And in that process, they reveal a profound truth: that being human is not about being perfect. It's about being whole. Wholeness includes the cracks, the flaws, and the lessons learned along the way. When you view mistakes through the lens of Buddhism, you begin to see them not as detours, but as part of the path itself. They are not obstacles to overcome, but invitations to wake up, to see yourself and the world more clearly. They remind you that life is not a straight line, but a winding journey, full of twists and turns that shape who you are becoming. And in that journey, there is room for every mistake, every lesson, and every step forward. Mistakes often leave behind something deeper than regret, a sense of unease, a lingering discomfort that seems to gnaw at your heart and mind. Beneath the surface of every misstep lies an undeniable truth: suffering. It's there in the sleepless nights, the aching guilt, and the relentless what-ifs. But suffering isn't merely a byproduct of life's challenges. It is life's most profound teacher. It holds the power to break you open and reshape you into someone stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. This isn't about glorifying pain, but understanding its role in transformation. When you stop resisting suffering and start listening to it, something remarkable begins to happen. Growth, healing, and perhaps even forgiveness. Suffering is the thread that runs through all human experience, binding us together. It's easy to view it as an enemy, something to escape or avoid at all costs. Yet, in Buddhism, suffering is not seen as an adversary, but as a universal truth, one that must be embraced to uncover the deeper layers of life. The first noble truth, the cornerstone of Buddhist philosophy, speaks directly to this reality. It does not shy away from the fact that life includes suffering. Instead, it invites us to face it, not as a defeat, but as a doorway to understanding. Suffering is not a punishment, but a signal, a wake-up call to pay attention. When you start to recognize suffering for what it is, you stop running from it. Often, the pain of a mistake is amplified, not by the mistake itself, but by your resistance to it. The more you push it away, the more it lingers. The Buddhist perspective teaches that the first step toward healing is acknowledgement. This means sitting with your discomfort, allowing yourself to feel it fully without judgment. It's not an easy process, but it is necessary. Avoiding suffering only delays the lesson it carries. Facing it allows you to grow through it. Growth through suffering begins with self-awareness. When you lean into the discomfort of a mistake, you gain clarity about its roots. Perhaps it stems from unmet expectations, unspoken fears, or a need for control. These insights don't come from blaming yourself, but from observing yourself. Suffering strips away the surface, revealing what truly matters. It forces you to confront the parts of yourself that are often hidden, the insecurities, the doubts, the unhealed wounds. In this confrontation, you find the seeds of transformation. Transformation through suffering is not about erasing the pain, but about using it to cultivate resilience. Resilience is not the absence of struggle, but the ability to adapt and rise after falling. Mistakes often make people feel powerless, as though they've lost control over their lives. But suffering, when embraced, becomes a source of strength. It teaches you that even in the face of adversity, you can endure. This endurance is not passive, but active. It's the choice to keep going, to keep learning, even when it feels difficult. Through this process, you begin to see suffering not as a setback, but as a stepping stone. One of the most profound lessons suffering offers is compassion. When you've experienced pain, you become more attuned to the pain of others. Mistakes can make you feel isolated, as though no one else could possibly understand what you're going through. But when you open yourself to the universality of suffering, you realize that everyone carries their own burdens. This realization fosters empathy, the ability to connect with others on a deeper level. It reminds you that you're not alone, that your suffering is part of the shared human experience. Compassion for others often begins with compassion for yourself. Self-compassion is a radical act in a world that often equates worth with perfection. Mistakes can make you feel unworthy, but suffering teaches you that your worth is not tied to your flaws. It is found in your ability to learn, to grow, and to forgive. Self-compassion does not mean excusing harmful behavior, but recognizing that you are more than your mistakes. It's about speaking to yourself with the same kindness you would offer a friend. When you approach your suffering with self-compassion, it becomes less of a weight and more of a guide. Suffering also teaches impermanence, the Buddhist principle that everything is temporary. No matter how intense the pain feels, it will not last forever. This doesn't mean the impact of a mistake disappears, but it does mean that your relationship to it can change. When you understand that suffering is impermanent, you stop clinging to it. You allow it to move through you, leaving behind the wisdom it was meant to impart. This perspective encourages you to let go, not with indifference, but with understanding. Letting go of suffering requires acceptance. Acceptance is often misunderstood as resignation, But in Buddhism, it is a powerful act of courage. It means acknowledging reality as it is, not as you wish it were. When you accept your suffering, you stop fighting against it. This doesn't mean you condone the mistake or its consequences, but you make peace with the fact that it happened. Acceptance creates space for healing. It allows you to focus on what can be changed rather than being consumed by what cannot. Suffering also reveals the interconnectedness of all things. Every action has consequences, not just for you, but for those around you. Mistakes often create ripples, affecting relationships, opportunities, and experiences. This interconnectedness can feel overwhelming, but it also offers a sense of purpose. It reminds you that your actions matter, that your growth has the potential to benefit others. When you transform your suffering into growth, you contribute to a greater good. This sense of purpose can be a powerful motivator on the path to self-forgiveness. The path to self-forgiveness is not linear. It's a journey with twists and turns, moments of progress and moments of struggle. Suffering is a companion on this journey, not an obstacle. It walks beside you, pointing out the lessons you might otherwise overlook. Each step forward is an act of courage, a reminder that you are capable of growth. This journey requires patience, not just with the process, but with yourself. Mistakes often trigger a sense of urgency, a need to fix everything immediately. But growth takes time, and suffering teaches you to honor that time. Forgiveness, both for yourself and others, is the ultimate act of liberation. It frees you from the chains of the past, allowing you to live fully in the present. Suffering plays a crucial role in this liberation. It shows you where you're holding on too tightly, where you need to let go. It invites you to release the stories you've been telling yourself about your mistakes, stories of unworthiness, failure, and shame. In their place, you can create new narratives of resilience, compassion, and transformation. Through the lens of Buddhism, suffering is not a curse, but a blessing in disguise. It is the soil in which growth takes root, the fire that refines you, the mirror that reveals your true self. When you embrace suffering, you stop being its victim and become its student. You learn to see mistakes not as permanent marks, but as temporary lessons. And in this learning, you find the strength to forgive, to heal, and to move forward. As the journey continues, remember this: suffering is not the end of the story. It is the beginning of something deeper, something richer. It is the gateway to self-awareness, the foundation of compassion, and the catalyst for transformation. By embracing suffering, you unlock the potential for growth that has always been within you. And through this growth, you discover that even the heaviest burdens can be turned into stepping stones. Suffering often leaves questions lingering in its wake. Why did this happen? Was it something I did? Could I have prevented it? These questions are not just signs of introspection, but echoes of a deeper yearning to make sense of life's events. Buddhism answers these questions through the principle of karma, a law of cause and effect that governs all actions and their consequences. This teaching doesn't point fingers or assign blame. Instead, it offers clarity, helping you take responsibility for your actions without sinking into self-judgment. Karma is not about punishment or reward. It's about understanding the ripple effects of what you do, say, and think, and how these actions shape the world around you and the life within you. Karma, at its core, is a principle of interconnection. It reveals how every action you take sets into motion a series of consequences, much like a pebble dropped into a still pond. The ripples spread outward, touching everything in their path. This interconnectedness is not limited to external events, but extends to your inner world as well. When you act with kindness, patience, or integrity, those qualities shape not only the lives of others, but also your own mind and heart. Similarly, when you act out of anger, greed, or ignorance, the consequences ripple back into your life, reinforcing the patterns that caused the action in the first place. Understanding this interconnectedness shifts the way you approach mistakes. Mistakes, when viewed through the lens of karma, are not final verdicts on your character, but opportunities to learn about the forces that drive you. Every action arises from an intention, and understanding the intention behind your mistake is key to transforming it. Was the mistake born out of fear, out of a need for control, out of a misunderstanding? Karma invites you to look deeply at these questions, not to assign blame, but to uncover the conditions that led to the action. This process is one of self-inquiry, a journey into the root causes of your choices. It's not about punishing yourself for what went wrong, but about gaining the wisdom to choose differently in the future. Taking responsibility through the lens of karma is a liberating act. It frees you from the trap of self-blame, which often paralyzes growth. Self-blame fixates on the past, locking you into a cycle of guilt and regret. Responsibility, on the other hand, is forward-looking. It acknowledges what happened without dwelling on it. It asks, "What can I learn from this?" and "How can I act more skillfully moving forward?" In this way, karma transforms mistakes from sources of shame into stepping stones for personal growth. It empowers you to take ownership of your life, knowing that your actions have the power to create meaningful change. Understanding karma also highlights the role of intention. In Buddhism, intention is considered the seed from which karma grows. Two people could perform the same outward action, but their intentions could lead to vastly different karmic outcomes. For instance, if someone donates money out of genuine compassion, the karmic effects are positive, creating a sense of fulfillment and connection. If someone donates the same amount but does so for recognition or obligation, the karmic effects are less harmonious, often leaving a lingering sense of dissatisfaction. When you reflect on your mistakes, examining your intention can help you understand why you acted as you did and how you can realign your actions with your values. Karma also teaches impermanence, a principle that offers relief when dealing with the consequences of mistakes. Just as every action creates ripples, those ripples eventually fade. The consequences of a mistake, while real, are not eternal. This impermanence allows room for growth and change. It reminds you that no mistake defines you forever. What matters is not just the action itself, but how you respond to it. Do you let it harden you into self-judgment, or do you use it as a catalyst for self-awareness and growth? Karma invites you to take an active role in shaping the ripples that follow your actions. Another profound aspect of karma is its emphasis on mindfulness. Karma does not operate on autopilot. It is shaped by conscious awareness. When you act mindlessly, without pausing to consider the effects of your actions, you're more likely to create harmful karma, both for yourself and others. Mistakes often arise from moments of distraction, when your actions are driven by impulses rather than intention. By cultivating mindfulness, you can interrupt this pattern. Mindfulness allows you to act with greater clarity, reducing the likelihood of repeating past mistakes. It transforms karma from an abstract concept into a practical tool for daily life. Karma also teaches the importance of accountability in relationships. Mistakes often have interpersonal consequences, creating ripples that affect not only you, but those around you. Taking responsibility for these ripples is an act of courage and compassion. It requires acknowledging the impact of your actions without defensiveness or denial. This acknowledgement is not just for the benefit of others, it's also for your own growth. When you take responsibility for the effects of your actions, you deepen your understanding of karma and its interconnected nature. You begin to see how your choices contribute to the web of relationships that sustain you. Compassion plays a central role in the karmic process. When you understand that every action arises from a set of conditions, it becomes easier to approach mistakes with empathy rather than judgment. This compassion extends both outward and inward. Just as you recognize that others act from their own limitations and struggles, you learn to see your own mistakes in the same light. Compassion softens the harsh edges of self-criticism, creating space for forgiveness and healing. It reminds you that while your actions have consequences, you are not defined by them. You are defined by your ability to learn, grow, and contribute positively to the world. Karma also offers a broader perspective on justice. In a world that often equates justice with punishment, karma provides a more nuanced understanding. It shows that actions naturally lead to consequences, not because of external enforcement, but because of the inherent interconnectedness of all things. This understanding fosters a sense of personal accountability that is not rooted in fear, but in wisdom. It encourages you to act ethically, not to avoid punishment, but to create harmony within yourself and with others. This perspective shifts the focus from retribution to restoration, from judgment to understanding. One of the most empowering aspects of karma is its emphasis on choice. While you cannot change the past, you have the power to shape the present and future through your actions. Every moment is an opportunity to plant new seeds, to create ripples that reflect your highest intentions. This doesn't mean erasing the consequences of past mistakes, but adding to the flow of positive karma that can balance and heal those consequences. Karma reminds you that you're never stuck, that every action holds the potential for transformation. It is a dynamic process, one that evolves as you evolve. Understanding karma also fosters humility. It reminds you that you are part of a vast, interconnected web of cause and effect. No action occurs in isolation. Everything you do is influenced by countless factors, from your upbringing to your environment to the choices of those around you. This humility dissolves the illusion of control, replacing it with a sense of responsibility. You realize that while you cannot control every outcome, you can influence the direction of your life through conscious choices. This balance between responsibility and humility is a cornerstone of the karmic perspective. Karma teaches patience, a quality often tested when dealing with the aftermath of mistakes. The effects of your actions may not be immediately apparent, and the path to healing may take time. Patience allows you to navigate this uncertainty with grace. It reminds you that growth is a process, not a destination. Each small step you take toward acting with integrity and mindfulness contributes to the larger picture. Patience also helps you resist the urge to dwell on past mistakes, encouraging you to focus on what you can do here and now to create positive change. Through the lens of karma, mistakes become opportunities to cultivate wisdom. Wisdom is not about knowing all the answers, but about understanding the interconnected nature of life and acting accordingly. It is the ability to see beyond the surface of a mistake, to recognize the conditions that created it and the lessons it offers. Wisdom transforms mistakes from sources of regret into sources of insight. It allows you to approach life with a sense of curiosity and openness, knowing that every action, no matter how small, contributes to the larger tapestry of your existence. Karma ultimately teaches that forgiveness is an act of liberation. When you understand the interconnected nature of actions and their consequences, you stop seeing mistakes as isolated failures. Instead, you see them as part of a larger journey, one that is shaped by countless factors and guided by your intention to grow. Forgiveness is not about erasing the past, but about releasing the grip it has on you. It is about acknowledging the ripples you've created while choosing to send out new ones, ones that reflect the person you are becoming rather than the person you once were. The principle of karma offers a profound framework for understanding mistakes and their role in your life. It shifts the focus from blame to responsibility, from regret to growth, from punishment to transformation. By embracing this perspective, you not only free yourself from the weight of self-judgment, but also unlock the potential to create a life that reflects your deepest values. Karma reminds you that every action matters, that every choice holds the power to shape your reality. And in that truth lies the path to self-forgiveness and lasting transformation. Karma reveals the intricate web of cause and effect, showing us how each action ripples outward and inward, shaping who we are and the world we experience. But knowing this isn't always enough to soften the sharp edges of guilt or regret. After recognizing the weight of responsibility, there remains the challenge of living with it. This is where mindfulness enters as a powerful ally. Mindfulness is not just a tool for calmness. It is a profound practice that allows you to step into the present moment, meet your emotions with compassion, and begin to release the chains of guilt tied to past mistakes. Through mindfulness, you discover a way to untangle yourself from the stories of the past and find freedom in the now. Mindfulness begins with awareness. Awareness of where you are, what you feel, and what thoughts are arising within you. Often, the pain of a mistake lingers not because of the event itself, but because of how your mind holds onto it, replaying it over and over like a song stuck on repeat. Mindfulness interrupts this cycle by inviting you to observe your thoughts rather than be consumed by them. It asks you to pause and notice without judgment what is happening inside. This simple act of paying attention shifts your perspective. It reminds you that you are not your thoughts or your emotions. You are the one observing them. When you observe without judgment, something extraordinary happens. The heavy emotions tied to guilt, shame, and regret begin to loosen their grip. They no longer define you. They become experiences passing through you. Mindfulness creates space between you and your emotions, allowing you to respond to them with curiosity rather than reaction. For example, instead of drowning in the thought, "I am a failure," mindfulness lets you see it as just a thought, a fleeting mental event, not a statement of truth. This shift is the foundation of self-compassion. Self-compassion flourishes when you approach yourself with the same kindness you would offer a loved one. Mistakes often trigger harsh inner dialogue, a barrage of self-criticism that deepens your suffering. Mindfulness helps you notice this inner voice without becoming entangled in it. By simply observing the critical thoughts, you create an opportunity to challenge them. You might ask, is this thought helpful? Is it true? Would I speak to a friend this way? These questions, born out of mindfulness, transform the way you relate to yourself. Being present in the moment also allows you to reconnect with your body, which often carries the weight of unresolved emotions. Guilt, for instance, might manifest as a tightness in the chest or a knot in the stomach. Mindfulness encourages you to bring gentle attention to these sensations, not to fix them, but to acknowledge them. This act of noticing and allowing is itself healing. It sends a message to your nervous system that it's okay to let go. Over time, this practice helps you release the physical tension associated with emotional pain. One of the most profound gifts of mindfulness is its ability to ground you in the here and now. Mistakes anchor you to the past, while guilt and fear about repeating them pull you into an uncertain future. Mindfulness breaks this tug-of-war by bringing your focus to the present moment, the only moment where change is possible. By paying attention to your breath, your surroundings, or the sensations in your body, you return to a space where you can act rather than ruminate. This presence doesn't erase the past, but gives you the clarity to see it for what it is, a memory, not a prison. Mindfulness also reveals the impermanence of emotions. When you observe your feelings without clinging to them, you start to notice that they come and go, like waves on the shore. No emotion lasts forever, no matter how intense it feels in the moment. This awareness is liberating because it reminds you that the pain of guilt or regret is not a permanent state. It will pass, just as joy and contentment do. Recognizing this impermanence helps you hold your emotions more lightly, reducing their power over you. Another transformative aspect of mindfulness is its role in cultivating forgiveness. Forgiveness, particularly self-forgiveness, requires a willingness to face your pain without turning away. Mindfulness supports this process by encouraging you to sit with your discomfort rather than avoid it. When you approach your mistakes with mindful attention, you begin to see them as they are, not as insurmountable failures, but as moments of learning. This perspective softens the edges of regret and creates room for self-forgiveness to take root. Mindfulness also strengthens your ability to act with intention. When you are caught in the whirlwind of guilt or self-doubt, your actions often become reactive, driven by the need to escape discomfort. Mindfulness interrupts this pattern by helping you pause and consider your choices. It invites you to ask, what action aligns with my values? What choice reflects the person I want to become? This intentionality transforms mistakes into opportunities for growth, allowing you to move forward with clarity and purpose. One of the subtler benefits of mindfulness is the way it fosters gratitude. When you are fully present, you begin to notice the small moments of beauty and kindness that often go unnoticed. A gentle breeze, a kind word, the warmth of sunlight on your skin. These moments remind you that life is more than your mistakes. Gratitude doesn't negate the challenges you face, but balances them with a sense of appreciation for what is still good and meaningful. This balance is essential for healing, as it shifts your focus from what you've lost to what you still have. Mindfulness also deepens your connection to others. When you practice being present with yourself, you develop the capacity to be present with those around you. This presence enhances your relationships, creating space for authentic connection and understanding. It allows you to listen more deeply, to respond rather than react, and to show up with empathy and compassion. These qualities not only enrich your interactions, but also remind you that you are part of a larger web of connection, a web that supports and sustains you. In the context of mistakes, mindfulness teaches you to distinguish between responsibility and blame. Responsibility acknowledges the impact of your actions and commits to doing better, while blame fixates on guilt and shame. Mindfulness helps you navigate this distinction by bringing awareness to your intentions and their consequences. It allows you to take ownership of your actions without being consumed by them. This balanced approach fosters accountability while preserving your self-worth. Mindfulness also encourages patience. Healing from a mistake takes time, and the process often feels slow or frustrating. Mindfulness helps you stay present with the journey, reminding you that growth is not a linear path, but a series of small, incremental steps. Each moment of awareness, each act of self-compassion contributes to your transformation. This patience allows you to trust the process, even when progress feels invisible. Perhaps one of the most empowering aspects of mindfulness is its ability to cultivate resilience. Mistakes can leave you feeling fragile, as though one more misstep could shatter you entirely. But mindfulness reveals your inner strength, the part of you that can sit with discomfort, face difficult truths, and still choose growth. Resilience is not about avoiding hardship, but about meeting it with courage and grace. Mindfulness reminds you that you are capable of this, even when it feels difficult. Mindfulness also encourages curiosity, a quality often overlooked in the face of mistakes. When you approach your experiences with curiosity, you shift from judgment to exploration. Instead of asking, "Why am I like this?" you ask, "What can I learn from this?" This shift opens the door to new insights and perspectives, allowing you to see your mistakes as opportunities rather than obstacles. Curiosity transforms regret into a desire for understanding, creating a foundation for growth. Mindfulness reconnects you with your innate sense of wholeness. Mistakes often make you feel broken or incomplete, as though something is fundamentally wrong with you. But mindfulness reminds you that your true nature is not defined by your actions or their consequences. Beneath the surface of guilt and regret lies a wellspring of peace, compassion, and wisdom, a core that remains untouched by your mistakes. Mindfulness helps you access this core, allowing you to approach life with greater confidence and clarity. In embracing mindfulness, you don't just learn to release guilt or regret. You learn to live with a greater sense of presence and purpose. You discover that your mistakes are not the end of your story, but a part of your journey, one that can lead to deeper self-awareness, compassion, and resilience. Mindfulness is the bridge that connects you to the present moment, to your true self, and to the infinite potential for growth and healing that lies within you. Through this practice, you transform not only your relationship with your mistakes, but also your relationship with yourself. Mindfulness reveals the power of presence, grounding you in the here and now. But what about the grip of the past? Those moments of regret, the memories that resurface uninvited, and the weight of what could have been. These can linger, keeping you tethered to a time you can no longer change. The Buddhist concept of non-attachment offers a profound way to free yourself from this cycle. It's not about indifference or forgetting, but about releasing the hold the past has over you while carrying forward the wisdom it offers. Non-attachment is the key to letting go without losing the lessons, and it unlocks a life lived with clarity and peace. At its heart, non-attachment teaches that clinging is the source of much of our suffering. When you hold tightly to past mistakes or regrets, you create a mental loop that replays the pain over and over again. This clinging doesn't change the past, it only amplifies its hold on you. Buddhism refers to this attachment as upadana, a grasping at what cannot be undone. Non-attachment, by contrast, is the practice of loosening that grip, not by force, but by understanding. It is a gentle untying of the knots that bind you to the past, allowing you to move forward with grace. Letting go begins with acceptance. To release the past, you must first acknowledge it fully, not as you wish it had been, but as it was. This is not an easy step, as it requires facing the discomfort of your mistakes without turning away. Acceptance does not mean condoning what happened or dismissing its impact. It means recognizing the reality of the past and choosing to stop fighting it. When you accept what cannot be changed, you free yourself from the struggle against reality. This freedom is the foundation of non-attachment. Non-attachment also invites you to separate yourself from the narratives you've built around your past. Often, the pain of a mistake is less about the event itself and more about the story you tell yourself about it. You may label yourself as a failure, a bad person, or someone undeserving of happiness. These labels become identities, shaping how you see yourself and how you move through the world. Non-attachment asks you to question these stories. Are they true? Are they helpful? Or are they simply habits of thought that keep you stuck? By letting go of these narratives, you create space to redefine yourself. This process is deeply connected to the Buddhist understanding of impermanence. The past, like everything else, is not fixed. It exists only as a memory, a mental construct that shifts with time and perspective. Recognizing this impermanence can help you loosen your grip on the past. You see that the mistake you made, the regret you carry, is not a permanent stain, but a fleeting moment in the vastness of your life. This perspective allows you to hold the past lightly, appreciating the lessons it offers without being weighed down by it. Non-attachment does not mean erasing the past or pretending it doesn't matter. On the contrary, it involves integrating the lessons of the past into your present life. When you let go of the emotional charge tied to a mistake, you can reflect on it with clarity. What did it teach you about yourself, about others, about the world? These lessons become part of your wisdom, guiding your future actions. Non-attachment transforms the past from a source of pain into a wellspring of insight. Another crucial aspect of non-attachment is forgiveness. Holding on to resentment, whether toward yourself or others, keeps you anchored in the past. Forgiveness is the act of releasing that anchor. It is not about excusing harm or minimizing its impact, but about freeing yourself from the burden of carrying it. Forgiveness, rooted in non-attachment, acknowledges the pain while choosing not to let it define your present or future. It is an act of liberation, one that benefits you as much as, if not more than, the person you forgive. Non-attachment also helps you navigate the fear of letting go. Clinging to the past often feels safer than stepping into the unknown of the present. The pain of a familiar mistake can seem less daunting than the uncertainty of who you might become without it. Non-attachment teaches you to trust in the unfolding of life. It reminds you that letting go is not an act of loss, but an act of making space. Space for growth, for healing, and for new possibilities. This trust is not blind, but rooted in the awareness that life is ever-changing and that holding on too tightly only creates resistance. One of the challenges of letting go is the tendency to revisit past mistakes in search of resolution. The mind often convinces you that if you think about it just one more time, you'll find the answer or the closure you're looking for. Non-attachment counters this impulse by shifting your focus from solving the past to being present with it. Instead of ruminating, you observe. Instead of analyzing, you accept. This shift breaks the cycle of rumination and brings you back to the present, where real change happens. Non-attachment also fosters humility. It reminds you that no one is immune to mistakes and that perfection is an illusion. This humility softens the harshness of self-judgment, replacing it with a sense of shared humanity. When you let go of the need to be flawless, you create room for authenticity. You allow yourself to be seen as you are, imperfect, yes, but also whole and capable of growth. This authenticity is a gift, not only to yourself, but to those around you. Letting go of the past also involves letting go of control. Often, clinging to mistakes is a way of trying to rewrite them, to exert control over something that has already happened. Non-attachment teaches you that control is not the path to peace. Surrender is. Surrender does not mean giving up, but yielding to the reality of what is. It is an act of trust, a recognition that life moves forward regardless of your grip on the past. This surrender opens the door to freedom, allowing you to step into the flow of the present moment. Non-attachment is deeply connected to compassion, both for yourself and for others. When you release the hold of the past, you can approach yourself with greater kindness. You see that your mistakes, while painful, do not diminish your worth. Compassion also extends outward, helping you understand that others are on their own journeys of growth and imperfection. This understanding creates space for empathy and connection, dissolving the barriers that regret and resentment often build. Letting go also requires courage. It takes bravery to release what is familiar, even when it no longer serves you. Non-attachment is not a passive act, but an active choice to face your fears and step into the unknown. This courage is fueled by faith. Not blind faith, but a deep trust in your capacity to grow and adapt. It is the belief that the lessons of the past will guide you, even as you let go of its weight. This faith empowers you to move forward with confidence and clarity. The practice of non-attachment also cultivates gratitude. When you release the grip of the past, you become more attuned to the present moment and the gifts it offers. Gratitude shifts your focus from what you've lost to what you have. It reminds you that every mistake, every regret has brought you to where you are now. This perspective transforms the past from a source of pain into a source of appreciation. Gratitude, like non-attachment, is a practice of freedom. Non-attachment ultimately leads to liberation. When you let go of the past, you free yourself from its chains. You reclaim your energy, your focus, and your ability to fully engage with life. This liberation is not about forgetting the past, but about integrating it into your journey in a way that serves your growth. It is the realization that you are not bound by what has happened, but are constantly being shaped by what you choose to do now. Non-attachment transforms the past from a weight to be carried into a foundation to build upon. Through the practice of non-attachment, you learn to see the past not as a prison, but as a teacher. You release the pain, retain the lessons, and move forward with a heart that is lighter and a spirit that is freer. This is not an easy path, but it is a transformative one. It is a journey of courage, compassion, and profound inner freedom. A journey that allows you to fully embrace the present while honoring the wisdom of the past. Letting go of the past releases its grip on your heart, creating space for healing and growth. But what about the stories we tell ourselves about who we are? So often, we attach our identity to our mistakes, carrying the weight of labels like failure or unworthy. These stories don't just linger, they define the way we see ourselves, shaping every choice we make. Buddhism invites us to explore a liberating truth. The self, as we think of it, is not fixed or permanent. The concept of no self, or anatta, challenges the idea of an unchanging ego, offering freedom from the prison of self-criticism and the illusion that you are your mistakes. The idea of no self can feel unsettling at first because so much of human experience revolves around identity. From a young age, we are taught to define ourselves by our actions, roles, and relationships. When we make mistakes, those definitions become harsher. Instead of seeing the mistake as an event, we internalize it as a flaw in who we are. Anatta disrupts this cycle by revealing that what we call the self is not a fixed entity, but a constantly shifting process. This perspective is not about denying individuality, but about understanding its fluid nature. In Buddhism, the self is described as a combination of 5 aggregates: form, sensation, perception, mental formations, and consciousness. Together, these elements create the illusion of a unified self, much like how the ingredients of a meal come together to create a single dish. However, just as a meal is not a permanent entity, neither is the self. Each aggregate is impermanent and subject to change. Recognizing this impermanence allows you to see mistakes in context. They are not a reflection of a fixed self, but part of the ever-changing flow of experience. This understanding frees you from the burden of identifying with your mistakes. When you see that there is no permanent I to carry the weight of guilt or shame, those emotions lose their grip. Instead of thinking, "I'm a failure," you begin to see that failure was an experience, not an identity. This shift is transformative because it opens the door to growth. If the self is not fixed, then you are not bound by your past. You are free to change, to evolve, and to redefine yourself in every moment. One of the profound effects of anatta is the way it softens self-criticism. The harsh inner voice that judges your every move thrives on the illusion of a solid self. It says, "You always mess up," or "You'll never be good enough," as though these qualities are permanent truths. When you embrace the concept of no self, these judgments lose their foundation. You begin to see them as thoughts arising and passing, not as reflections of who you are. This creates space for self-compassion, replacing judgment with understanding. The idea of no self also encourages humility. Often the ego clings to achievements and failures alike, using them to build a narrative of superiority or inadequacy. This clinging creates a distorted sense of identity that limits your perspective. When you let go of the need to define yourself through your actions, you become more open to learning and growth. Humility is not about diminishing your worth, but about recognizing that you are part of a larger whole, interconnected with everything around you. Anatta also reveals the interconnected nature of experience. The self does not exist in isolation. It arises in relationship to the world. Your thoughts, emotions, and actions are influenced by countless factors, from your upbringing to your environment to the choices of others. This interconnectedness highlights the futility of self-blame. When you make a mistake, it is not the result of a singular fixed identity, but of a complex web of causes and conditions. Understanding this encourages you to approach your mistakes with curiosity rather than judgment. This perspective also fosters resilience. When you stop seeing mistakes as reflections of a flawed self, you become less afraid of making them. The fear of failure often paralyzes growth, but the concept of no self dissolves this fear by showing that failure is not a threat to your identity. It is simply a moment in time, a lesson to be learned. Resilience is born from this freedom, the ability to face challenges without clinging to the outcome or letting it define you. No self also transforms the way you relate to others. When you let go of the need to protect or defend a fixed identity, you become more open to connection. Mistakes often strain relationships because they trigger feelings of shame or defensiveness. Anatta dissolves these barriers, allowing you to take responsibility for your actions without being consumed by them. This openness creates a foundation for trust and understanding, deepening your relationships and fostering mutual growth. The practice of mindfulness plays a crucial role in realizing no self. Mindfulness allows you to observe the arising and passing of thoughts, emotions, and sensations without clinging to them. Through this observation, you begin to see the fluid nature of experience. You notice that what you call self is constantly changing, shaped by the conditions of each moment. This awareness is liberating because it breaks the cycle of identification. Instead of saying, "I am angry," or "I am guilty," you begin to see, "Anger is arising," or "Guilt is present." This shift creates a sense of spaciousness, allowing you to respond to your emotions rather than react to them. Anatta also encourages you to question the stories you tell yourself about your mistakes. These stories often reinforce the illusion of a fixed self, creating narratives like, "I always mess up," or I'm just not good at this. By examining these stories through the lens of no self, you begin to see their impermanence. They are not truths, but patterns of thought that can be changed. This realization empowers you to rewrite your narrative, focusing on growth and possibility rather than limitation. The concept of no self does not negate responsibility. Rather, it deepens it. When you see that your actions arise from a web of causes and conditions, you become more mindful of the impact of your choices. Responsibility in this context is not about self-blame, but about conscious action. It is the recognition that while you cannot control every outcome, you can influence the direction of your life through your intentions and actions. This perspective encourages you to act with integrity and awareness. No self also invites you to explore the deeper layers of your being. Beneath the shifting thoughts and emotions lies a sense of presence, a quiet, stable awareness that is not defined by the fluctuations of experience. This presence is your true nature, untouched by mistakes or achievements. When you connect with this awareness, you discover a profound sense of peace. You realize that who you are is not limited to the roles you play or the mistakes you've made, but is something much vaster. This awareness also fosters gratitude. When you see that the self is not a fixed entity, but a dynamic process, you become more attuned to the beauty of impermanence. Every moment becomes an opportunity to grow, to learn, and to experience life in its fullness. Gratitude arises naturally from this perspective because you no longer cling to what was or worry about what will be. You are present with what is, appreciating the flow of life and the lessons it brings. The concept of no self ultimately leads to liberation. It frees you from the chains of self-criticism and the illusion of being defined by your mistakes. It shows you that your worth is not tied to your actions, but is inherent in your being. This liberation is not an escape from life, but a deeper engagement with it. It allows you to face challenges with courage, to embrace change with grace, and to live with a sense of openness and possibility. Through the lens of no self, mistakes lose their power to define you. They become part of the flow of life, moments of learning and growth, rather than reflections of a flawed self. This perspective invites you to live with greater freedom, compassion, and authenticity. It reminds you that you are not your mistakes, your achievements, or your roles. You are the awareness that experiences them, the presence that remains steady amid the shifting tides of life. This realization is the heart of anatta, a truth that transforms not only how you see yourself, but how you live. The realization that you are not defined by your mistakes is a liberating truth. It creates space for self-awareness, growth, and freedom from the weight of self-criticism. But letting go of these judgments requires more than intellectual understanding. It demands an active practice of self-compassion. This is where loving-kindness meditation, or metta, becomes a transformative tool. It is not just about soothing your mind. It is a profound way to rewire how you relate to yourself, breaking free from cycles of guilt and shame. Metta invites you to cultivate a deep sense of kindness and forgiveness, beginning with yourself and rippling outward to the world around you. Loving-kindness meditation begins with intention. It is not about forcing yourself to feel a certain way, but creating an open space where kindness can naturally arise. Often, the hardest person to extend compassion to is yourself. Mistakes, regrets, and unmet expectations create barriers that make self-forgiveness seem unreachable. Metta gently dissolves these barriers, starting with the simple act of wishing yourself well. Even if the words feel hollow at first, the practice creates a pathway for self-compassion to grow. The structure of metta is simple yet profound. You begin by silently repeating phrases of goodwill toward yourself, such as, "May I be happy," "May I be healthy," "May I be free from suffering." These words are not mere affirmations. They're seeds planted in the fertile ground of your mind. Each repetition nurtures a sense of care and warmth, softening the inner critic that often dominates your thoughts. With time and consistency, these seeds begin to take root, transforming the way you perceive yourself. One of the most transformative aspects of metta is its focus on unconditional kindness. Self-compassion often comes with conditions. "I'll forgive myself if I do better next time," or "I'll be kind to myself once I fix this mistake." Metta removes these conditions, reminding you that kindness is not something you have to earn. It is a birthright, an inherent part of being human. This shift is profound because it allows you to embrace yourself as you are, not as you think you should be. As you practice loving-kindness meditation, you may encounter resistance. Negative self-talk, deeply ingrained over time, may rise to the surface. These voices might say, "You don't deserve kindness," or "This won't change anything." Metta does not ask you to fight these thoughts. Instead, it invites you to acknowledge them without judgment and gently return to the practice. This process teaches patience, showing you that transformation is not about erasing old patterns, but consistently creating new ones. Metta also fosters a sense of safety within yourself. Often the harshness of self-judgment creates an internal environment of fear and unease. Loving-kindness meditation replaces this with a sense of warmth and acceptance. By offering yourself kindness, you create a refuge within, a place where you can rest, heal, and grow. This inner safety is crucial for self-forgiveness, as it provides the stability needed to face your mistakes without being overwhelmed by them. The benefits of metta extend beyond the meditation itself. As you cultivate kindness toward yourself, it naturally begins to ripple outward. You may find yourself becoming more patient with others, more understanding of their imperfections. This outward flow of compassion reinforces your practice, creating a cycle of kindness that nourishes both you and those around you. This interconnectedness is at the heart of metta, reminding you that self-forgiveness is not an isolated act, but part of a larger web of compassion. Metta also teaches the power of repetition. The phrases may seem simple, but their repeated practice builds a foundation of kindness that becomes part of your daily life. Just as water wears away stone over time, loving kindness meditation gradually softens the hardness of self-criticism. Each session, no matter how brief, contributes to this transformation. The key is consistency, returning to the practice even on days when it feels difficult or ineffective. One of the profound lessons of metta is the recognition of shared humanity. When you wish yourself well, you are acknowledging your own struggles, your own efforts to navigate life's challenges. This acknowledgement fosters a sense of connection with others who are also doing their best in an imperfect world. Understanding this shared experience dissolves the isolation that often accompanies self-judgment. It reminds you that mistakes do not separate you from others. They are what unite you in the human experience. Loving kindness meditation also helps to reframe the way you view your mistakes. Instead of seeing them as failures, you begin to see them as opportunities to practice compassion. Each mistake becomes a moment to offer yourself kindness rather than judgment, to choose growth over self-punishment. This shift in perspective transforms how you relate to the past, freeing you from its grip and allowing you to move forward with a lighter heart. The physical benefits of metta should not be overlooked. Studies have shown that practicing loving-kindness meditation can reduce stress, lower blood pressure, and increase feelings of well-being. These effects are not just side benefits. They are integral to the process of self-forgiveness. When your body feels calmer and more at ease, it becomes easier to approach your inner world with gentleness. This mind-body connection reinforces the practice, creating a holistic path to healing. Metta also cultivates resilience. By repeatedly offering yourself kindness, you build an inner strength that can withstand the challenges of life. This resilience is not about ignoring pain or difficulty, but about meeting them with compassion. It is the ability to say, even in the face of this, I choose kindness. This resilience extends to how you handle future mistakes, reducing the likelihood of falling into cycles of guilt and self-criticism. Another powerful aspect of metta is its role in dissolving shame. Shame thrives on secrecy and silence, convincing you that your flaws make you unworthy of love or connection. Loving-kindness meditation counters this by openly acknowledging your humanity. It says, you are deserving of kindness, not despite your mistakes, but because of them. This acknowledgement is deeply healing, breaking the cycle of shame and replacing it with self-acceptance. Metta also encourages you to be present with yourself. In the rush of daily life, it is easy to overlook your own needs, to push aside your emotions in favor of productivity or distraction. Loving-kindness meditation creates a space where you can pause and truly listen to yourself. This presence is a form of self-care, a way of saying, you matter. It reminds you that taking time for yourself is not selfish, but essential for your well-being. The practice of metta also highlights the importance of balance. Self-compassion is not about avoiding responsibility or ignoring the impact of your actions. It is about approaching your mistakes with honesty and kindness, recognizing that accountability and self-forgiveness can coexist. Loving-kindness meditation teaches you to hold both truths, that you can take responsibility for your actions while still offering yourself compassion. This balance creates a foundation for genuine growth and healing. As you continue practicing metta, you may notice a shift in how you speak to yourself. The harsh inner critic begins to soften, replaced by a voice that is gentler and more supportive. This transformation is not about silencing the critic entirely, but about creating a dialogue rooted in kindness. Instead of saying, I'll never be good enough, you begin to say, I am doing my best, and that is enough. This change in self-talk has a profound impact on your overall sense of well-being. Metta also deepens your capacity for gratitude. As you cultivate kindness toward yourself, you become more aware of the small moments of beauty and connection in your life. Gratitude and loving kindness reinforce each other, creating a cycle of positivity that nourishes your heart and mind. This gratitude extends to your own efforts, recognizing the courage it takes to show up for yourself, even on the hardest days. Through loving-kindness meditation, you begin to see yourself as whole, not broken. Mistakes and imperfections are no longer seen as flaws, but as part of the intricate, beautiful mosaic of who you are. This sense of wholeness is deeply healing, allowing you to move through life with a sense of peace and self-assurance. It reminds you that you are not defined by your past, but by the love and kindness you choose to cultivate in the present. In practicing metta, you are not just learning to forgive yourself, you are learning to love yourself. This love is not conditional or fleeting, but grounded in the profound recognition of your inherent worth. It's a love that transcends mistakes, embracing you as you are and as you are becoming. Through this practice, you break free from the cycle of self-judgment and step into a life guided by compassion, resilience, and a deep sense of inner peace. Loving-kindness meditation opens the door to self-compassion, helping to soothe the wounds of judgment and guilt. But forgiveness is not the end of the journey. Within the framework of Buddhist teachings lies a deeper truth. Mistakes are not simply missteps to overcome, but powerful teachers that can guide us toward wisdom and transformation. When we view our mistakes through the lens of compassionate reflection, we unlock the potential for growth and self-discovery that might otherwise remain hidden. This perspective shifts the narrative from blame to curiosity, from self-condemnation to a profound opportunity for learning. Every mistake carries within it the seeds of understanding. While it's natural to feel the sting of regret, Buddhist teachings encourage us to look beyond the discomfort and seek the lesson it offers. This begins with mindfulness, the practice of fully observing an experience without judgment. When a mistake occurs, the immediate instinct might be to suppress it or dwell on it obsessively. Mindfulness offers a third path: to sit with the mistake, acknowledge its presence, and examine it with curiosity. This approach reveals layers of meaning and insight that cannot be accessed when we react from a place of judgment or fear. Mistakes are mirrors reflecting aspects of ourselves that often go unnoticed. A moment of frustration, a hasty decision, or an unkind word may highlight unresolved emotions, unmet needs, or patterns of thinking that drive our actions. By pausing to reflect, we begin to see these patterns more clearly. Compassion plays a vital role here, softening the critical voice that seeks to label mistakes as failures. Instead of thinking, "I always mess things up," the question shifts to, "What can this teach me about myself?" This reframing transforms the mistake from a source of pain into a valuable teacher. Buddhist philosophy teaches that suffering arises from attachment, including attachment to an idealized version of ourselves. Mistakes challenge these ideals, often leading to feelings of inadequacy or disappointment. However, when we accept that imperfection is an inherent part of being human, the pressure to meet unrealistic standards begins to dissolve. Mistakes no longer feel like a betrayal of who we are, but a natural part of our journey. This acceptance creates a foundation for compassionate reflection, allowing us to explore mistakes without the weight of shame or self-blame. One of the most profound lessons mistakes offer is the opportunity to practice humility. It's easy to get caught up in the illusion of control, believing that if we work hard enough or plan meticulously, we can avoid failure. Mistakes remind us of our limitations, not as a punishment, but as an invitation to embrace our shared humanity. This humility fosters a sense of connection with others, as we come to understand that everyone faces challenges and missteps. Compassion grows when we recognize that we are not alone in our struggles. Mistakes also teach resilience. Each time we face a mistake with openness and curiosity, we strengthen our ability to navigate difficulties. Resilience is not about avoiding hardship, but about responding to it in a way that fosters growth. When a mistake occurs, it's natural to feel a sense of loss of pride, of trust, or of a desired outcome. Compassionate reflection helps us move through this loss by focusing on what can be learned and how we can adapt. This resilience becomes a cornerstone of personal growth, enabling us to face future challenges with greater confidence. Another key lesson mistakes offer is the importance of intention. In Buddhist teachings, intention is seen as the foundation of ethical conduct and personal growth. When reflecting on a mistake, the question is not just, "What happened?" but, "What was my intention in that moment?" This inquiry helps to distinguish between actions that arise from carelessness or harmful impulses, and those that stem from a genuine, albeit imperfect, effort. Recognizing the role of intention shifts the focus from judgment to understanding, creating space for growth and self-compassion. Mistakes also reveal the interconnectedness of our actions. In the moment, a mistake might feel like an isolated event, but upon reflection, it becomes clear how many factors contributed to it: our mood, external pressures, and even the influence of others. This awareness fosters a sense of responsibility that is balanced by compassion. It reminds us that while we cannot control every outcome, we can learn to navigate our circumstances with greater awareness and care. This perspective transforms mistakes from fixed points of failure into dynamic opportunities for learning. Compassionate reflection also allows us to separate the mistake from our identity. It's easy to internalize mistakes, seeing them as evidence of who we are, rather than what we've done. Buddhist teachings emphasize the impermanence of all things, including our actions. A mistake is not a permanent stain, but a fleeting moment in the vastness of our lives. This understanding helps to loosen the grip of self-criticism, replacing it with a sense of possibility. Each moment offers a chance to learn, to grow, and to choose differently. The process of reframing mistakes also involves gratitude. While it may seem counterintuitive, cultivating gratitude for the lessons mistakes provide can be transformative. Gratitude shifts our focus from what went wrong to what we can gain from the experience. This doesn't mean dismissing the pain or difficulty of a mistake, but recognizing that even in challenging moments, there is value to be found. Gratitude helps to reframe mistakes as necessary steps on the path of growth, reinforcing the idea that every experience contributes to our journey. Mistakes also highlight the importance of flexibility. Clinging to rigid expectations about how things should be creates suffering when reality doesn't align with those expectations. Mistakes challenge us to let go of these attachments and adapt to what is. Flexibility is not about lowering standards or accepting mediocrity, but about approaching life with an open mind and heart. When we view mistakes as opportunities to adjust and refine our approach, we become more adaptable and less prone to frustration or disappointment. Buddhist teachings also emphasize the role of mindfulness in reframing mistakes. Mindfulness helps us to stay present, observing the thoughts and emotions that arise in response to a mistake without becoming overwhelmed by them. This practice creates a sense of spaciousness, allowing us to reflect with clarity rather than reactivity. Mindfulness also helps to ground us in the present moment, reminding us that the past cannot be changed, but can inform our actions moving forward. This perspective transforms mistakes from burdens into stepping stones for growth. One of the most empowering aspects of reframing mistakes is the realization that they are a natural part of the learning process. Growth is rarely linear. It is marked by detours, setbacks, and moments of uncertainty. Mistakes are not signs of failure, but evidence that we are trying, exploring, and pushing the boundaries of our comfort zones. This perspective encourages us to approach life with curiosity and courage, knowing that each mistake is a step toward greater understanding. Through compassionate reflection, we also learn to forgive ourselves. Forgiveness is not about excusing harm, but about releasing the weight of self-blame. When we view mistakes as teachers, the need for punishment fades, replaced by a desire to learn and grow. This shift in perspective fosters a sense of peace, allowing us to move forward without the burden of regret. Self-forgiveness becomes an act of liberation, freeing us to live with greater authenticity and joy. Ultimately, reframing mistakes as teachers transforms the way we approach life. It shifts the focus from perfection to progress, from judgment to compassion, Buddhist teachings remind us that every experience, no matter how challenging, has something to offer. When we embrace this truth, mistakes lose their power to define us. Instead, they become opportunities to deepen our understanding, strengthen our resilience, and live with greater wisdom and compassion. Through this lens, even the most difficult moments become part of a greater journey, one that leads not to perfection, but to profound growth and self-discovery. Mistakes, when reframed as teachers, allow us to embrace growth and wisdom. But often, the root of our struggles lies in the relentless pursuit of perfection. This drive to achieve an unattainable ideal can consume us, leaving us trapped in cycles of frustration and disappointment. Perfectionism is a subtle burden, one that convinces us that we are never enough, no matter how much we do or achieve. In Buddhism, the middle way offers a path out of this cycle, guiding us toward balance and harmony between striving for growth and embracing the beauty of imperfection. This principle is not about settling for mediocrity. It is about finding freedom in the acknowledgement that life is a dynamic process, not a checklist of flawless achievements. The middle way begins with recognizing the extremes that dominate human behavior. On one side is the pursuit of perfection, a relentless striving that leaves no room for rest, reflection, or acceptance. On the other is complete complacency, where the desire for growth is stifled by avoidance or fear of failure. Neither extreme offers peace. The middle way invites us to walk the line between these poles, finding balance by honoring both our aspirations and our limitations. This approach fosters a deeper connection to life as it is, rather than as we believe it should be. Perfectionism often stems from a desire to control outcomes. We think that if we work hard enough or meet certain standards, we can prevent mistakes, avoid criticism, or secure approval. However, this mindset overlooks the inherent unpredictability of life. The middle way teaches us to release this illusion of control, not by abandoning our goals, but by approaching them with flexibility and openness. This shift allows us to engage fully with our efforts without becoming attached to specific results. It transforms striving from a source of tension into an act of joyful participation in life. One of the key lessons of the middle way is the importance of self-compassion. Perfectionism thrives on harsh self-criticism, convincing us that any deviation from our standards is a failure. The middle way counters this by reminding us that imperfection is not a flaw, but a fundamental aspect of being human. Self-compassion becomes the bridge between striving and acceptance, allowing us to acknowledge our efforts while forgiving our missteps. This balance nurtures a sense of inner peace as we learn to be kind to ourselves regardless of the outcome. The middle way also challenges the notion that perfection is necessary for worthiness. Perfectionism often ties our self-worth to external achievements, creating a constant need to prove ourselves. This mindset can be exhausting, leaving us feeling empty even when we meet our goals. The middle way shifts the focus inward, emphasizing intrinsic worth over external validation. It reminds us that we are valuable not because of what we achieve, but because of who we are. This realization liberates us from the need to constantly measure up, allowing us to pursue growth from a place of curiosity rather than fear. A powerful aspect of the middle way is its emphasis on process over outcome. Perfectionism fixates on the end result, often at the expense of the journey. This can lead to burnout, as we push ourselves beyond our limits in pursuit of an ideal. The middle way encourages us to find meaning and fulfillment in the process itself. Whether we succeed or fail becomes secondary to the effort, intention, and presence we bring to our actions. This perspective not only reduces stress, but also enhances our engagement with life. making each moment an opportunity for growth. Letting go of perfectionism through the middle way also fosters resilience. When we no longer see failure as a reflection of our worth, we become more willing to take risks and embrace challenges. Resilience grows from this willingness as we learn to adapt and grow in response to setbacks. The middle way teaches us that failure is not the opposite of success, but an integral part of the journey. This understanding allows us to face difficulties with courage and grace, knowing that each experience contributes to our growth. Another profound teaching of the middle way is its focus on balance. In the pursuit of perfection, we often neglect other aspects of our lives, relationships, health, or moments of rest and joy. This imbalance can lead to dissatisfaction, even when we achieve our goals. The middle way encourages us to cultivate harmony in all areas of life, recognizing that true fulfillment comes from integration rather than singular focus. This holistic approach helps us to prioritize what truly matters, creating a sense of alignment and well-being. The middle way also invites us to embrace uncertainty. Perfectionism seeks to eliminate doubt, striving for absolute clarity and control. Yet life is inherently uncertain, filled with unpredictability and change. The middle way teaches us to find peace within this uncertainty, to move forward even when the path is unclear. This openness allows us to engage with life as it unfolds, rather than being paralyzed by fear or rigidity. It is a practice of trust, both in ourselves and in the process of life. Compassionate reflection plays a vital role in letting go of perfectionism. When we take the time to examine our motives and actions, we begin to see where perfectionism has taken root. This awareness is not about judgment, but about understanding. Through reflection, we can identify the fears and beliefs that drive our perfectionism and begin to challenge them. The middle way offers a framework for this exploration, guiding us toward a more balanced and compassionate approach to ourselves and our goals. The practice of mindfulness is deeply intertwined with the middle way. Mindfulness helps us to stay present, to observe our thoughts and behaviors without being swept away by them. When perfectionist tendencies arise, mindfulness allows us to recognize them and choose a different response. This awareness creates space for choice, enabling us to act from a place of balance rather than compulsion. Mindfulness also helps us to appreciate the present moment, shifting our focus from what we lack to what we have. Gratitude is another powerful tool in embracing the middle way. Perfectionism often fixates on what is missing, creating a sense of dissatisfaction even in the midst of abundance. Gratitude shifts this perspective, helping us to recognize and appreciate the goodness in our lives. This practice fosters contentment, reducing the need to constantly strive for more. Gratitude does not negate the desire for growth, but grounds it in a sense of sufficiency, creating a foundation of peace and joy. Letting go of perfectionism also involves redefining success. In a perfectionist mindset, success is often narrowly defined by external achievements or specific outcomes. The middle way broadens this definition, framing success as the ability to live with integrity, presence, and compassion. This redefinition empowers us to find meaning and fulfillment in our daily lives, regardless of whether we meet traditional markers of success. It reminds us that true success is not about being flawless, but about being authentic. The middle way teaches us to celebrate progress rather than perfection. Every step forward, no matter how small, is an achievement worth acknowledging. This perspective encourages us to focus on our efforts rather than fixating on what remains undone. By celebrating progress, we cultivate a sense of motivation and joy, making the journey itself more rewarding. This shift in focus also helps to sustain our efforts, as we learn to find satisfaction in the process rather than waiting for a perfect outcome. Ultimately, the middle way offers a path to freedom. It releases us from the constraints of perfectionism, allowing us to live with greater ease and authenticity. This freedom is not about abandoning our aspirations, but about approaching them with balance and compassion. It is about recognizing that life is not a test to be passed, but a journey to be experienced. Through the middle way, we learn to embrace our imperfections, to honor our efforts, and to find peace in the dynamic flow of life. In doing so, we discover a deeper sense of fulfillment, one that is rooted not in perfection, but in the richness of being human. Embracing the middle way teaches us to let go of perfectionism, allowing space for balance, compassion, and growth. But balance is not passive. It requires conscious direction, a compass that guides our actions and choices with purpose. This is where intention becomes transformative. The power of intention is not just in the actions it inspires, but in the clarity and alignment it creates. Setting wholesome intentions, as taught in Buddhist philosophy through Samma Sankappa, shifts the focus from dwelling on past mistakes to cultivating meaningful growth. It is a practice of looking forward with mindfulness and purpose, paving a path of healing and transformation. Intentions are different from goals. While goals focus on outcomes, intentions direct the energy and values behind your actions. They are not bound by external results, but are deeply rooted in your inner landscape. Mistakes often lead to fixation on what went wrong, trapping you in a cycle of regret. Intention breaks this cycle by redirecting your focus toward what you can do differently. Instead of asking, "How could I have failed?" the question becomes, "What values and principles will guide my actions now?" This shift fosters self-forgiveness by anchoring you in the present and empowering you to create a better future. Samma Sankappa, or right intention, is one of the elements of the Noble Eightfold Path. It emphasizes cultivating intentions that align with kindness, compassion, and wisdom. This principle challenges the reactive patterns that arise from guilt and fear, replacing them with proactive, wholesome intentions. When reflecting on a mistake, the focus is not on punishment or self-blame, but on understanding what intentions led to the action and how they can be refined. This approach creates a sense of accountability without the weight of judgment, making space for growth and learning. One of the transformative aspects of intention is its ability to clarify your priorities. Mistakes often cloud your perspective, making it difficult to see the bigger picture. Setting intentions helps to cut through this confusion, bringing your values into focus. For example, if a mistake stemmed from acting out of impatience, a wholesome intention might be to cultivate patience and mindfulness. This clarity not only prevents future harm, but also reinforces your commitment to living in alignment with your highest values. It is a process of refining your actions to reflect the person you aspire to be. The act of setting intentions also fosters resilience. Mistakes can feel overwhelming, as though they define you or limit your potential. Intention reminds you that growth is always possible, no matter how challenging the circumstances. Each intention you set becomes a step forward, a way of reclaiming agency over your life. This resilience is not about denying the impact of your mistakes, but about choosing to respond to them with purpose and determination. It is a quiet strength that allows you to move forward with grace. Intentions also create a sense of continuity between your past, present, and future. While mistakes may feel like ruptures, intentions weave them into the larger narrative of your growth. By reflecting on what a mistake can teach you and setting an intention based on that lesson, you transform it into a meaningful part of your journey. This continuity dissolves the fragmentation caused by regret, helping you see that even the most difficult experiences can contribute to your evolution. The practice of setting intentions also deepens your connection to mindfulness. Intention is not a one-time act, but an ongoing practice that requires presence and awareness. Each day offers opportunities to renew your intentions, to realign your actions with your values. This mindfulness ensures that your intentions remain active and relevant, rather than becoming empty declarations. It is a way of living with intention, where every choice is an opportunity to embody the principles you hold dear. Compassion plays a central role in intention. Without compassion, intentions can become rigid or self-critical, driven by a desire to fix yourself rather than nurture growth. Compassion softens this approach, reminding you that intentions are not about perfection, but about progress. It allows you to set intentions with kindness, acknowledging both your strengths and your limitations. This balance creates a foundation for sustainable growth, one that is rooted in self-acceptance rather than self-judgment. Intentions also serve as a guide in moments of uncertainty. Mistakes often leave you feeling unsure of how to move forward, caught between the desire to make amends and the fear of repeating the same errors. Setting intentions provides a clear path, a way of navigating the uncertainty with confidence. For example, if a mistake caused harm to someone else, an intention to act with greater empathy and awareness can guide your efforts to repair the relationship. This clarity reduces the anxiety of uncertainty, replacing it with a sense of purpose. Another powerful aspect of intention is its ability to transform your mindset. When you focus on intentions rather than outcomes, you shift from a results-oriented perspective to a process-oriented one. This shift reduces the pressure to achieve specific results and allows you to find meaning in the effort itself. It is a practice of valuing the journey over the destination, recognizing that growth and learning are ongoing processes. This perspective makes it easier to approach mistakes with curiosity rather than fear, as they become opportunities to refine your intentions. Intentions also create a ripple effect. The energy and values behind your actions influence not only your own experience, but also the people around you. When your intentions are rooted in kindness and compassion, they inspire similar qualities in others. This interconnectedness reinforces the importance of setting wholesome intentions, as the impact of your actions extends beyond yourself. It is a reminder that your growth contributes to the well-being of the larger community, creating a cycle of positive influence. Gratitude can enhance the practice of intention. Reflecting on what you are grateful for helps to ground your intentions in a sense of abundance rather than lack. For example, instead of setting an intention to fix something about yourself, you might focus on cultivating a quality you already appreciate, such as patience or creativity. Gratitude shifts the focus from what is missing to what is present, creating a more positive and empowering foundation for your intentions. This practice reinforces the idea that growth is not about becoming someone else, but about becoming more fully yourself. The power of intention also lies in its adaptability. Life is dynamic, and circumstances often change in ways you cannot predict. Intentions provide a flexible framework that allows you to respond to these changes without losing sight of your values. For example, if an intention to practice mindfulness is disrupted by unexpected challenges, you can adapt by finding small moments of mindfulness within the chaos. This adaptability ensures that your intentions remain relevant and effective, regardless of external circumstances. Ultimately, setting intentions fosters a sense of hope. Mistakes can sometimes feel like dead ends, but intentions remind you that every moment is an opportunity to begin again. This hope is not based on denial or wishful thinking, but on the understanding that growth is always possible. Each intention you set becomes a step toward a more compassionate, purposeful, and fulfilling life. It is a practice of choosing to move forward, even when the path is uncertain, guided by the light of your values. Through the practice of setting wholesome intentions, you learn to view mistakes not as failures, but as stepping stones on the path of growth. Each intention becomes a declaration of your commitment to live with integrity and purpose. It is a practice that transforms self-forgiveness from an abstract concept into a lived experience, one that unfolds with each choice you make. In this way, intentions become not just a tool for growth, but a way of being, an embodiment of the wisdom, compassion, and resilience that define your journey. Setting intentions invites purpose into every action, transforming the way you approach mistakes and see growth as a journey. Yet, the path forward often requires another profound shift, embracing the truth that nothing in life remains the same. The concept of impermanence, or anicca, in Buddhist teachings, offers the wisdom needed to understand that every mistake, no matter how heavy it feels in the moment, is temporary. This perspective changes everything. It liberates you from the grip of regret, allowing you to experience life with a sense of flow rather than resistance. By accepting impermanence, you step into a reality where mistakes are fleeting moments, not permanent labels. The power of impermanence lies in its universality. Everything you experience, whether joy, pain, success, or failure, is subject to change. This understanding is not meant to dismiss the importance of your experiences, but to show that they are part of a greater rhythm. Mistakes, while impactful in the moment, lose their sharp edges over time. The emotions tied to them, shame, guilt, or disappointment, diminish as life continues to unfold. Recognizing this truth allows you to release the fear that mistakes define who you are. Instead, they become part of the natural ebb and flow of existence. Embracing impermanence also helps to dissolve attachment. Often, the pain of a mistake is prolonged not by the event itself, but by the narrative you attach to it. Thoughts like, "This will ruin everything," or "I'll never recover from this," create a sense of permanence that deepens suffering. Anicca teaches that these narratives are illusions, built on the mistaken belief that circumstances are fixed. When you internalize impermanence, you begin to let go of these attachments, freeing yourself to move forward without being weighed down by the past. This understanding fosters resilience. Mistakes, when viewed through the lens of impermanence, become less intimidating. You start to see that even the most difficult experiences are transient, that they too will pass. This perspective reduces the fear of making mistakes, encouraging you to take risks and embrace opportunities for growth. Resilience grows not from avoiding failure, but from knowing that you have the capacity to navigate it and emerge stronger on the other side. Impermanence also cultivates gratitude. When you accept that nothing lasts forever, you begin to appreciate the fleeting nature of each moment. Even mistakes, painful as they may be, hold value when seen through this lens. They remind you of your humanity, your capacity to learn, and the ever-present opportunity to begin again. Gratitude transforms mistakes from burdens into gifts, shifting your focus from regret to appreciation for the lessons they bring. The practice of mindfulness plays a critical role in embracing impermanence. By staying present, you learn to observe the changing nature of your thoughts and emotions. This awareness reveals that the intensity of a mistake's impact is temporary. The sharp sting of regret fades, replaced by new experiences and perspectives. Mindfulness helps you to witness this process without clinging to the past or fearing the future. It anchors you in the here and now, where growth and healing are always possible. Anicca also reshapes your relationship with time. Mistakes often feel overwhelming because they create a sense of urgency, as though you must fix everything immediately. Impermanence reminds you that time is a flowing river, not a stagnant pool. The pressure to resolve everything at once eases when you understand that life continues to unfold, offering countless chances to learn and grow. This perspective encourages patience, allowing you to approach mistakes with a sense of calm and confidence. The wisdom of impermanence extends to the emotions that mistakes evoke. Shame, guilt, and disappointment are powerful feelings, but they are not permanent states. They rise and fall like waves, influenced by countless factors. Recognizing their impermanence allows you to hold these emotions lightly, acknowledging their presence without being consumed by them. This approach creates emotional balance, making it easier to process and release the feelings tied to a mistake. Accepting impermanence also deepens your understanding of interconnectedness. Mistakes do not happen in isolation. They are influenced by a web of circumstances, choices, and relationships. This interconnectedness highlights the complexity of life, showing that no single moment defines your entire existence. Each experience is part of a larger tapestry, woven together by the constant flow of change. This perspective reduces the weight of individual mistakes, placing them within the broader context of your journey. Another profound lesson of impermanence is its ability to foster forgiveness. Holding on to a mistake, whether your own or someone else's, creates a sense of permanence that prevents healing. Anicca teaches that everything, including the pain of a mistake, is subject to change. This understanding creates space for forgiveness, as you realize that neither you nor the other person is defined by a single moment. Forgiveness becomes an act of releasing the past, allowing both yourself and others to grow. Impermanence also encourages flexibility. Life is unpredictable, and mistakes often arise from the unexpected. Clinging to rigid plans or expectations amplifies the impact of these moments. When you embrace impermanence, you learn to adapt to change with greater ease. Mistakes become opportunities to reassess and adjust, rather than reasons to feel defeated. This flexibility empowers you to navigate challenges with a sense of curiosity and openness. The concept of impermanence also shifts your perspective on success and failure. In a world where achievements are often celebrated as permanent milestones, Anicca reminds you that both success and failure are temporary. This realization reduces the pressure to achieve perfection, encouraging you to focus on the process rather than the outcome. When mistakes occur, they are no longer seen as definitive failures, but as part of the ongoing rhythm of life. This perspective fosters a sense of balance, allowing you to pursue growth without being overwhelmed by setbacks. Through the lens of impermanence, you also come to see the cyclical nature of life. Just as seasons change, so too do your experiences, emotions, and circumstances. Mistakes are not endpoints, but part of a continuous cycle of learning and renewal. This cyclical view encourages you to embrace the flow of life, trusting that each moment, no matter how difficult, contributes to your growth. It is a reminder that every ending carries the seed of a new beginning. Impermanence also invites you to live with greater presence. When you accept that everything is fleeting, you begin to value each moment for what it is, rather than what it could have been. This presence allows you to engage fully with life, even in the face of mistakes. Instead of dwelling on what went wrong, you focus on what can be learned and how you can move forward. This approach transforms mistakes from sources of regret into opportunities for mindfulness and growth. The practice of embracing impermanence also cultivates humility. Mistakes often feel significant because they challenge the ego, which clings to a fixed sense of identity. Anicca dissolves this attachment, showing that identity is fluid and ever-changing. This humility fosters self-compassion as you come to see that mistakes are not reflections of your worth, but natural parts of your evolution. It also deepens your connection to others, as you recognize that everyone is navigating the same impermanent reality. Ultimately, impermanence offers a path to freedom. It releases you from the weight of past mistakes, the fear of future ones, and the illusion of permanence that underlies so much suffering. By embracing Anicca, you learn to live with a sense of flow and possibility, unburdened by the need to hold on to what was or control what will be. Mistakes in this context become gentle reminders of life's impermanence, inviting you to grow, adapt, and move forward with grace. This wisdom transforms the way you see yourself and the world. It replaces rigidity with fluidity, judgment with understanding, and fear with acceptance. Through impermanence, you come to appreciate the beauty of life's constant change, finding peace in the knowledge that every moment, whether marked by success or mistake, is a fleeting yet valuable part of the journey. This acceptance allows you to live fully, embracing each experience as an opportunity to grow and connect with the ever-changing rhythm of existence. Accepting impermanence brings freedom from the weight of mistakes, helping you see them as fleeting moments rather than permanent scars. Yet, even with this perspective, the internal dialogue that follows mistakes can often trap you in cycles of shame. These inner narratives, fueled by harsh self-criticism, can linger long after the mistake itself has faded. To truly release the burden of guilt, you must learn to transform the way you speak to yourself. This is where the Buddhist principle of right speech, or samavaka, offers profound guidance. Practicing truthful, kind, and compassionate self-talk is not just a way to heal, it is a way to cultivate deep self-acceptance and shift your relationship with yourself entirely. Words have power, even those that are never spoken aloud. The inner voice that narrates your life shapes your emotions, decisions, and sense of self. When mistakes occur, this voice can become your harshest critic, replaying moments of failure with sharp judgment and unforgiving commentary. Right speech teaches that the words you use, whether directed outwardly to others or inwardly to yourself, should be truthful, kind, and uplifting. This approach doesn't ignore mistakes but reframes how you address them, replacing the sting of shame with the balm of understanding. Shame thrives in an environment of harshness and distortion. When you tell yourself stories like, "I'll never be good enough," or "This mistake defines me," you create a narrative rooted in falsehood. Right speech calls for honesty, but honesty without cruelty. A truthful inner dialogue acknowledges the mistake, but does so with clarity and balance. Instead of saying, "I always fail," you might say, "I made a mistake, but it doesn't define who I am." This shift in language interrupts the cycle of shame, offering a path toward self-compassion. Kindness is another cornerstone of right speech. The way you speak to yourself in moments of difficulty reflects the relationship you have with yourself. When mistakes happen, it is tempting to lash out internally, believing that harshness will motivate change. But this approach often backfires, deepening the wounds of shame rather than encouraging growth. Kind self-talk, on the other hand, nurtures a safe space within you, a space where mistakes can be acknowledged without fear and lessons can be learned without judgment. It is in this space that healing begins. The practice of right speech also emphasizes mindfulness. Before speaking, whether to others or to yourself, you are encouraged to pause and consider the impact of your words. This mindfulness applies to self-talk as well. When critical thoughts arise, take a moment to question their validity. Are these words helpful? Are they rooted in truth? Are they kind? This pause disrupts the automatic patterns of negative self-talk, creating an opportunity to choose words that align with compassion and understanding. Practicing right speech internally also helps to dismantle perfectionism. The language of perfectionism is often absolute and unforgiving. Words like always, never, and should dominate the narrative. These words leave no room for nuance or growth, turning every mistake into a personal failure. Right speech replaces this rigidity with flexibility, using language that reflects the dynamic nature of life. Instead of, "I should have known better," you might say, "I did the best I could with what I knew at the time." This shift in language creates space for self-forgiveness and acceptance. Another powerful aspect of right speech is its ability to foster self-awareness. The words you use internally often reflect deeper beliefs about yourself. By paying attention to your self-talk, you can begin to uncover these beliefs and challenge the ones that no longer serve you. For example, if you catch yourself thinking, "I'm not worthy of forgiveness," you can examine where this belief comes from and replace it with a more compassionate truth. This process of self-inquiry transforms negative self-talk into an opportunity for growth and healing. Right speech also cultivates gratitude. Harsh self-talk often focuses on what went wrong, amplifying the negative aspects of a mistake. Kind and truthful self-talk, however, can shift the focus toward what was learned or what remains valuable in the situation. For instance, instead of fixating on the mistake itself, you might reflect on the effort you made or the lessons gained. This practice of gratitude not only reduces shame, but also strengthens your resilience, helping you approach future challenges with a more balanced perspective. The ripple effects of right speech extend beyond self-talk. The way you speak to yourself influences the way you interact with others. When your inner dialogue is kind and compassionate, it becomes easier to extend that same kindness outward. This shift creates a sense of harmony in your relationships, reducing conflict and fostering deeper connections. It also serves as a reminder that self-forgiveness and self-acceptance are not just personal acts, but contributions to the well-being of the people around you. Right speech also teaches the importance of letting go. Words, once spoken, can linger in your mind, shaping how you see yourself and the world. Clinging to harsh or unkind words only perpetuates shame and guilt. Practicing right speech encourages you to let go of these words and replace them with ones that uplift and empower. This letting go is an act of liberation, freeing you from the weight of self-judgment and opening the door to self-compassion. The practice of right speech is deeply tied to the concept of intention. When you choose your words mindfully, you align your actions with your values. This alignment creates a sense of integrity, which is essential for self-acceptance. When reflecting on a mistake, ask yourself, what intention do I want to bring to this moment? This question helps you to focus on growth and healing rather than punishment or blame. It transforms the narrative from "I failed" to "I am learning." One of the most transformative aspects of right speech is its ability to create a sense of safety within yourself. Shame often arises from fear, the fear of judgment, rejection, or inadequacy. When your inner dialogue is harsh, it reinforces this fear, creating an internal environment of hostility. Right speech replaces this hostility with kindness, creating a safe space where you can process mistakes without the added burden of self-criticism. This safety is essential for self-forgiveness, as it allows you to face your mistakes with courage and clarity. The practice of right speech also encourages humility. Harsh self-talk often stems from an unrealistic expectation of perfection, while kind and truthful self-talk acknowledges the reality of imperfection. This humility is not about diminishing yourself, but about embracing your humanity. It reminds you that making mistakes is part of life, not a reflection of your worth. This perspective fosters a sense of connection with others, as you realize that everyone faces challenges and missteps. Through the lens of right speech, self-forgiveness becomes an ongoing practice rather than a one-time event. Each moment offers an opportunity to choose words that align with compassion and truth. Over time, this practice reshapes the way you see yourself, replacing the narrative of shame with one of acceptance and growth. It is a process of rewriting the stories you tell yourself, creating a new narrative that reflects your resilience, wisdom, and inherent worth. The impact of right speech is profound. It changes not only the way you relate to your mistakes, but also the way you relate to yourself. By practicing truthful and kind self-talk, you create a foundation of self-acceptance that supports every aspect of your life. Mistakes no longer feel like permanent stains, but like moments of learning and transformation. This shift allows you to move forward with a sense of freedom and possibility, knowing that your worth is not defined by your past, but by the kindness and intention you bring to each moment. The power of kind and truthful self-talk reshapes how you view mistakes, fostering self-acceptance and freeing you from the burden of shame. But within this transformation lies another profound opportunity: the ability to cultivate gratitude for the lessons embedded within those mistakes. Gratitude doesn't require denial of the pain or regret that often accompanies missteps. Instead, it asks you to look deeper, to uncover the hidden gifts of growth and self-discovery that every mistake offers. This practice shifts your perspective, transforming what might initially seem like failure into a meaningful part of your journey. Gratitude for mistakes begins with a willingness to see beyond the surface. When a mistake happens, the immediate response is often one of frustration or disappointment. These emotions, while natural, can obscure the deeper lessons available to you. Gratitude requires stepping back and asking questions that open new pathways of understanding. What did this experience teach you about your choices? How did it reveal areas where growth was needed? These reflections invite clarity, helping you move from a place of regret to one of appreciation for what the mistake has revealed. Recognizing the role of mistakes in shaping your growth is one of the most powerful ways to cultivate gratitude. Mistakes often act as mirrors, reflecting aspects of yourself or your behavior that need attention. Perhaps a moment of impatience led to an error, revealing the importance of slowing down and being mindful. Or maybe a decision made in haste highlighted the need for deeper consideration in the future. Gratitude transforms these realizations from painful reminders into valuable insights, guiding your evolution toward a more thoughtful and intentional way of being. Another way to embrace gratitude for mistakes is by acknowledging their role in teaching resilience. Life's challenges are rarely linear, and mistakes often mark the twists and turns that force you to adapt and grow stronger. Each time you recover from a mistake, you build your capacity to face adversity with courage and grace. Gratitude allows you to honor this resilience, recognizing that the strength you've cultivated would not have been possible without the challenges you've faced. This perspective reframes mistakes not as setbacks, but as stepping stones on the path to greater self-mastery. Mistakes also foster empathy, both for yourself and others. When you reflect on your own missteps with gratitude, you begin to understand that imperfection is a shared human experience. This realization softens judgment, both of yourself and those around you. Gratitude for the lessons in mistakes helps you see that everyone is navigating their own challenges, often learning through trial and error. This shift in perspective deepens your connection to others, creating space for compassion and understanding. It's a reminder that mistakes are not isolating events, but opportunities to build bridges of empathy. Gratitude also opens the door to humility. Mistakes remind you of your limitations, breaking down the illusion of control or perfection. This humility is not about diminishing yourself, but about embracing your humanity. Gratitude allows you to see this humility as a gift, one that keeps you grounded and connected to what truly matters. By accepting mistakes with grace, you learn to release the need for constant approval or validation, finding strength in the authenticity of your imperfections. The practice of gratitude for mistakes also aligns with the concept of impermanence. Every mistake, no matter how significant it feels in the moment, eventually fades into the larger tapestry of your life. Gratitude helps you recognize this impermanence, allowing you to let go of the lingering weight of regret. Instead of clinging to what went wrong, you focus on the lessons that can carry you forward. This perspective creates a sense of freedom, as you realize that mistakes do not define you, but shape the person you are becoming. Gratitude shifts your focus from scarcity to abundance. Mistakes often feel like losses of time, opportunity, or trust. But when viewed through the lens of gratitude, they reveal the richness of what they've added to your life. Perhaps a mistake taught you patience, strengthened a relationship, or uncovered a hidden strength you didn't know you had. By appreciating these gains, you begin to see that even the most difficult experiences can leave you with something valuable. This mindset transforms mistakes from sources of frustration into catalysts for growth. Cultivating gratitude for mistakes also enhances your self-awareness. Each mistake holds a lesson, but these lessons are only accessible if you take the time to reflect. Gratitude encourages this reflection, prompting you to examine the choices, emotions, and circumstances that led to the mistake. This process deepens your understanding of yourself, helping you to identify patterns or tendencies that might otherwise go unnoticed. Gratitude turns self-awareness into a tool for empowerment, enabling you to make choices that align more closely with your values and aspirations. The act of expressing gratitude for mistakes can also create a sense of closure. Mistakes often leave behind unresolved feelings of guilt or regret. By acknowledging the lessons they've taught you, you begin to transform these emotions into something constructive. Gratitude provides a way to honor the experience without being trapped by it, allowing you to move forward with a sense of peace. This closure is not about erasing the mistake, but about integrating it into your journey in a way that feels meaningful. Gratitude for mistakes also cultivates creativity. When you view mistakes as opportunities rather than failures, you open yourself to new ways of thinking and problem-solving. Perhaps a mistake forces you to approach a challenge from a different angle or inspires you to explore a path you hadn't considered. Gratitude nurtures this creative mindset, helping you to see mistakes as doorways to innovation rather than barriers to success. This perspective encourages curiosity, inviting you to explore the possibilities that each mistake presents. Mistakes also serve as reminders of your capacity for growth. Each time you learn from a mistake, you expand your understanding and abilities. Gratitude allows you to celebrate this progress, no matter how small it may seem. By focusing on what you've gained rather than what you've lost, you cultivate a sense of confidence in your ability to navigate life's challenges. This confidence reinforces your resilience, creating a positive cycle of growth and self-assurance. Gratitude for mistakes also deepens your appreciation for the journey of life itself. Mistakes are often seen as detours, taking you away from your intended path. But in reality, they are an integral part of that path, shaping the person you're becoming. Gratitude helps you to embrace this truth, finding meaning and purpose even in the moments that feel difficult or uncertain. It reminds you that life's beauty lies not in its perfection, but in its complexity, and that every experience, mistakes included, contributes to the richness of your journey. Through the practice of gratitude, mistakes become less about what went wrong and more about what they revealed. Gratitude shifts your perspective from one of judgment to one of curiosity, allowing you to approach mistakes with an open mind and heart. This transformation is not about denying the impact of mistakes, but about honoring their role in your growth. It is a practice of seeing the value in every experience, no matter how unexpected or challenging. Ultimately, gratitude for mistakes is an act of self-love. It requires you to look at yourself with kindness and understanding, to see beyond the surface of your actions and recognize the deeper truth of your humanity. This practice nurtures a sense of inner peace as you learn to accept yourself fully, mistakes and all. Gratitude becomes a bridge between regret and self-forgiveness, allowing you to move forward with a sense of purpose and possibility. In embracing gratitude for mistakes, you rewrite the narrative of your life. Mistakes are no longer burdens to carry, but gifts to cherish, each one contributing to the person you are becoming. This perspective empowers you to live with greater authenticity and resilience, knowing that every experience has something valuable to offer. Gratitude transforms your journey, turning even the most challenging moments into opportunities for growth, connection, and self-discovery. Gratitude for the lessons in mistakes teaches us to see growth in places we once viewed with regret. Yet, even with gratitude, there are times when the heart remains heavy, weighed down by the emotions that linger after a misstep. What bridges the gap between understanding and healing is compassion, an active force that softens judgment, nurtures understanding, and creates the space for genuine self-forgiveness. In Buddhist teachings, compassion, including the often overlooked self-compassion, is the cornerstone of moving past mistakes. It's not just a tool for recovery, but a way to embrace your humanity and find peace in your imperfections. Compassion begins with the ability to truly see yourself without filters of blame or shame. Often, mistakes lead to self-punishment, as though harshness might redeem what has been done. Compassion counters this impulse by asking you to view yourself as you would a dear friend. If someone you cared about made a mistake, your instinct would likely be to offer reassurance and understanding, not criticism. Extending this same kindness to yourself requires practice, but it is one of the most transformative steps you can take toward healing. Self-compassion is not about excusing mistakes or avoiding accountability. It is about creating a safe, emotional environment where accountability can coexist with understanding. When you hold yourself with compassion, you acknowledge what went wrong while also recognizing that mistakes are part of the human experience. This perspective makes it possible to take responsibility for your actions without falling into the trap of self-condemnation. Compassion reminds you that growth comes from learning, not punishment. An essential aspect of compassion is its focus on connection. Mistakes often feel isolating, as though they set you apart from others. Compassion challenges this perception by highlighting the shared nature of imperfection. Everyone makes mistakes, and everyone struggles with the feelings that follow. When you approach yourself with compassion, you align with this universal truth, reducing the sense of isolation and fostering a deeper connection to humanity. This shift in perspective makes it easier to forgive yourself as you see your mistakes not as unique failures, but as part of a shared journey. Compassion also creates space for vulnerability, which is essential for self-forgiveness. Mistakes often trigger a defensive response, an effort to shield yourself from further judgment. Compassion allows you to lower these defenses, creating a space where you can confront your emotions honestly and openly. This vulnerability is not a sign of weakness, but a pathway to healing. It enables you to process the pain of a mistake without becoming trapped in it, clearing the way for growth and renewal. One of the profound teachings of Buddhism is that compassion must begin within. Self-compassion is not selfish. It is the foundation upon which all other forms of compassion are built. When you treat yourself with kindness and understanding, you strengthen your capacity to extend the same to others. This reciprocity creates a ripple effect, where the compassion you cultivate within becomes a source of healing and connection in your relationships. It is a reminder that self-forgiveness is not just about you. It also impacts the way you engage with the world. Compassion also transforms the way you view the emotional aftermath of mistakes. Feelings like guilt, shame, and regret can be overwhelming, but compassion helps you see them as signals rather than punishments. These emotions point to areas where healing and growth are needed. Instead of being consumed by them, you can approach them with curiosity and kindness, asking what they are trying to teach you. This shift in perspective turns difficult emotions into opportunities for self-discovery and transformation. Another powerful aspect of compassion is its ability to disrupt negative self-talk. Harsh internal dialogue often reinforces feelings of guilt and unworthiness, making it difficult to move forward. Compassion replaces this criticism with a voice of kindness, reminding you of your inherent worth even in the face of mistakes. This change in narrative allows you to approach yourself with patience and empathy, creating a foundation for lasting self-forgiveness. Compassion also plays a key role in breaking cycles of self-sabotage. When you hold on to harsh judgments about your mistakes, it becomes easy to fall into patterns of avoidance or self-punishment. Compassion interrupts these patterns by encouraging a more constructive approach. Instead of avoiding responsibility or repeating harmful behaviors, you can use compassion to guide your actions toward healing and growth. It is a way of treating yourself as someone worth caring for, even when things go wrong. In Buddhist teachings, the practice of loving-kindness meditation, or metta, is a profound way to cultivate compassion. This meditation involves directing goodwill and kindness first toward yourself, then toward others, and eventually toward all beings. By including yourself in this circle of compassion, you reinforce the idea that you are just as deserving of forgiveness and understanding as anyone else. This practice helps to dissolve the barriers that harsh self-judgment creates, fostering a sense of inner peace and acceptance. Compassion also teaches you to focus on progress rather than perfection. Mistakes often highlight areas where improvement is needed, but the pursuit of perfection can create unnecessary pressure and stress. Compassion encourages you to celebrate small steps of growth, recognizing that transformation is a gradual process. This perspective reduces the fear of making mistakes, allowing you to approach challenges with courage and curiosity rather than hesitation or dread. Another vital lesson of compassion is its role in fostering emotional resilience. Life is unpredictable and mistakes are inevitable, Compassion equips you with the strength to navigate these moments without being overwhelmed by them. It reminds you that your worth is not defined by your mistakes, but by your ability to learn and grow from them. This resilience enables you to face challenges with confidence, knowing that you have the tools to recover and thrive. Compassion also deepens your ability to forgive others. When you practice self-compassion, you gain a deeper understanding of the struggles and imperfections that everyone faces. This understanding makes it easier to extend forgiveness to those who have hurt you, creating a cycle of healing that benefits everyone involved. Self-forgiveness and the forgiveness of others are deeply interconnected, each reinforcing the other in a way that fosters harmony and peace. At its core, compassion is about creating a sense of safety within yourself. Mistakes often trigger feelings of insecurity or fear, as though they threaten your sense of identity. Compassion counters these fears by offering a stable foundation of kindness and understanding. When you know that you can approach yourself with compassion, even in the face of mistakes, you develop a sense of inner security that is unshaken by external circumstances. This safety allows you to take risks, explore new possibilities, and embrace the full spectrum of human experience. Compassion also teaches the value of patience. Healing from mistakes takes time, and the journey is rarely linear. Compassion helps you to accept this reality, offering patience and grace as you navigate the process of self-forgiveness. It reminds you that growth is not about rushing to a destination, but about honoring the path you are on. This patience creates a sense of calm and steadiness, allowing you to move forward at your own pace. Through compassion, you also come to understand the impermanence of mistakes. No matter how significant a mistake feels in the moment, it is ultimately a passing event. Compassion helps you to hold this perspective, reducing the weight of guilt and allowing you to focus on the present. This understanding creates space for healing and renewal as you learn to let go of what no longer serves you. Compassion is not a passive quality. It is an active force that shapes the way you engage with yourself and the world. By practicing compassion, you transform mistakes from sources of shame into opportunities for growth. It is a practice that nurtures self-forgiveness, strengthens resilience, and deepens your connection to humanity. In this way, compassion becomes not just a tool for healing, but a way of living, one that empowers you to move through life with grace, kindness, and unwavering self-acceptance. Compassion creates a space for understanding, a gentle reminder that mistakes are part of the human experience rather than reflections of your worth. Yet compassion alone cannot fully guide you forward without another vital element: responsibility. To grow from past mistakes, there must be an honest acknowledgement of your role in them. But here lies the delicate balance. How do you accept responsibility without falling into the trap of self-condemnation or being consumed by guilt? This balance is not just about moving forward, but about doing so with clarity and self-respect. Taking responsibility begins with facing the truth of what happened, no matter how uncomfortable it feels. Denying or avoiding your role in a mistake only prolongs the pain and limits the potential for growth. Acknowledging what went wrong is an act of courage that allows you to reclaim your agency. It is not about labeling yourself as flawed or unworthy, but about recognizing the choices that led to the outcome and the lessons they carry. This honesty is the foundation of genuine accountability, free from the distortion of blame or shame. Responsibility is not synonymous with blame. Blame is harsh and narrow, often focused on punishing yourself or others for an outcome. Responsibility, on the other hand, is expansive and rooted in empowerment. It is the recognition that while you may have made a mistake, You also have the ability to learn from it and make different choices moving forward. This perspective shifts the narrative from one of failure to one of possibility, where the focus is on what can be gained rather than what was lost. An essential aspect of accepting responsibility is separating the action from your identity. Mistakes often lead to thoughts like, "I'm a bad person," or "I'll never get it right." These beliefs conflate what you did with who you are, creating a cycle of self-condemnation that is hard to escape. Responsibility invites you to look at the action itself without attaching it to your sense of self-worth. You are not your mistakes. They are simply moments in your journey that hold the potential to teach and transform. Another key to avoiding self-condemnation is recognizing the difference between guilt and shame. Guilt is the acknowledgement that something you did was wrong, while shame is the belief that you are inherently flawed because of it. Guilt, when approached with compassion, can be a constructive emotion that motivates change and reconciliation. Shame, however, is paralyzing and destructive, often preventing growth. Accepting responsibility without self-condemnation requires focusing on guilt as a guide, rather than allowing shame to take over. Taking responsibility also means addressing the impact of your actions. Mistakes often affect not only yourself, but others as well. Acknowledging this impact is an important step in repairing relationships and restoring trust. This process requires humility and a willingness to listen to how others have experienced the situation. It is not about justifying or defending your actions, but about being present with their consequences. This level of accountability fosters connection and demonstrates a commitment to growth. At the same time, it is important to avoid the trap of taking on more responsibility than is yours to bear. Mistakes often occur within a web of circumstances, influenced by factors beyond your control. Blaming yourself for everything that went wrong ignores this complexity and places an unfair burden on your shoulders. Responsibility involves discerning what is truly yours to own and letting go of what is not. This discernment protects you from excessive guilt and allows you to focus your energy on what you can change. Another powerful aspect of responsibility is its ability to strengthen self-awareness. Mistakes are often rooted in patterns of behavior or thought that go unnoticed until something goes wrong. Accepting responsibility requires examining these patterns with honesty and curiosity. What beliefs or habits contributed to the mistake? How can they be addressed to prevent similar situations in the future? This process of self-reflection turns mistakes into opportunities for deeper understanding, laying the groundwork for meaningful change. Responsibility also fosters resilience. Facing the reality of a mistake can be painful, but it also builds your capacity to navigate challenges. Each time you take responsibility without succumbing to self-condemnation, you strengthen your ability to handle difficulties with grace and confidence. This resilience is not about avoiding mistakes, but about learning how to recover and grow from them. It is a reminder that your worth is not defined by the absence of mistakes, but by how you respond to them. Self-compassion remains a vital companion in the practice of responsibility. Without compassion, the process of taking responsibility can feel harsh and overwhelming. Compassion softens this experience, reminding you that accountability is not about perfection, but about progress. It creates a space where you can face your mistakes with honesty and courage, without the added weight of judgment. This balance of responsibility and compassion allows you to move forward with a sense of dignity and self-respect. Forgiveness also plays a key role in accepting responsibility. When you acknowledge a mistake, it is natural to feel a sense of regret. But holding on to this regret indefinitely prevents healing. Forgiveness allows you to release the emotional weight of the mistake while still honoring the lessons it taught you. This release is not about forgetting or excusing what happened, but about freeing yourself from the grip of guilt. It is an act of self-care that enables you to embrace the present with an open heart. Responsibility also invites you to set intentions for the future. Mistakes provide clarity about what went wrong, but this clarity is only valuable if it informs your actions moving forward. Taking responsibility means using the lessons from a mistake to guide your choices, ensuring that you grow from the experience rather than repeat it. These intentions are not about proving your worth, but about aligning your actions with your values. They are a way of honoring the commitment to yourself and others to strive for better. Accountability to others is another important dimension of responsibility. When a mistake affects someone else, taking responsibility involves acknowledging their experience and making amends where possible. This process requires humility and vulnerability, as well as a genuine desire to repair the harm caused. Accountability is not about seeking forgiveness as a way to absolve guilt, but about demonstrating integrity and respect. It is a way of showing that you value the relationship and are committed to its well-being. Responsibility also teaches patience. Growth and healing take time, and the process of learning from a mistake is rarely immediate. Accepting responsibility means being patient with yourself as you navigate this journey. It's about allowing yourself the time and space to integrate the lessons from a mistake without rushing to fix everything at once. This patience creates a sense of steadiness, helping you to stay grounded as you move forward. Ultimately, responsibility is about empowerment. By acknowledging your role in a mistake, you reclaim your agency and your ability to create change. Mistakes no longer feel like insurmountable obstacles, but like opportunities to shape your journey with intention and care. This empowerment transforms the way you view yourself and your life, replacing the weight of guilt with the freedom to grow and evolve. Accepting responsibility without self-condemnation is not an easy practice, but it is a deeply rewarding one. It requires a balance of honesty, humility, compassion, and courage. When approached with care, responsibility becomes a powerful tool for healing, growth, and connection. It is a practice that honors your humanity while empowering you to live with integrity and purpose. In this way, responsibility is not a burden, but a gift. An opportunity to align your actions with your values and to move forward with a sense of clarity and self-respect. Taking responsibility without condemnation empowers you to move forward, unburdened by excessive guilt. Yet, even when accountability is balanced with self-compassion, the weight of past mistakes can linger, tying your identity to a version of yourself that no longer exists. The practice of Buddhist non-attachment offers a profound solution, inviting you to release these ties to the past and embrace the freedom of the present. This is not about forgetting or dismissing the past, but about recognizing that clinging to old identities and stories only prevents growth. Non-attachment becomes a gateway to transformation, where you can honor your journey without being defined by it. Releasing attachment to the past begins with understanding how it shapes your perception of self. Mistakes often create narratives that feel permanent. I am a failure, or I will never change. These labels, though false, can become deeply ingrained when you hold on to them, shaping your choices and limiting your potential. Non-attachment teaches that these identities are not who you are, but are instead fleeting constructs shaped by impermanent experiences. Letting go of these constructs allows you to see yourself as a dynamic being, capable of growth and renewal. Non-attachment does not mean denying the reality of your past. It is about reframing your relationship with it. Mistakes, when clung to, create a cycle of regret and self-doubt. But when viewed through the lens of non-attachment, they become moments of learning rather than sources of identity. This shift allows you to acknowledge what happened without being trapped by it, opening the door to a present moment unburdened by past definitions. Clinging to the past often stems from a desire for control, a belief that holding on to certain narratives will somehow make sense of the pain. Non-attachment challenges this belief by showing that true control lies in how you respond to the present. The past cannot be changed, but your relationship with it can. By releasing the need to control what has already happened, you free yourself to focus on what you can influence now. This freedom transforms your perspective, replacing frustration with acceptance and rigidity with flow. The practice of non-attachment also involves letting go of the emotional weight tied to past mistakes. Feelings of guilt, shame, or anger can linger long after the event itself, creating a heavy emotional burden. Non-attachment does not ask you to suppress these emotions, but to recognize their impermanence. Emotions, like all things, rise and fall. By observing them without clinging, you create space for them to move through you, allowing healing to take place naturally. This process helps you release the emotional residue of the past, lightening your inner world. Non-attachment is deeply connected to the concept of impermanence. The past, no matter how significant it feels, is constantly fading into memory, replaced by the unfolding reality of the present. Holding on to the past is like gripping water. It slips through your fingers no matter how tightly you hold. Recognizing this impermanence allows you to let go of the futile effort to preserve what is no longer here, redirecting your energy toward living fully in the now. This shift is not about dismissing the past, but about placing it in its rightful context as a stepping stone rather than a prison. Practicing non-attachment also requires confronting the ego. The ego clings to past identities, both positive and negative, as a way of defining itself. It resists change because it fears losing a sense of self. Non-attachment challenges this fear by showing that identity is not fixed, but fluid. You are not the same person you were yesterday, and you will not be the same person tomorrow. Embracing this fluidity allows you to release the ego's grip on the past, creating space for growth and transformation. Letting go of past identities also fosters forgiveness, both for yourself and others. Clinging to mistakes, whether your own or someone else's, creates a cycle of resentment and blame. Non-attachment breaks this cycle by encouraging you to release the stories that fuel it. This does not mean excusing harm, but recognizing that holding on to anger or guilt only prolongs suffering. Forgiveness becomes an act of liberation, freeing you from the emotional ties that bind you to the past. Non-attachment also nurtures presence. When your mind is consumed by past mistakes, it is difficult to engage fully with the present moment. You may find yourself replaying events, wishing you could change them, or fearing their impact on your future. Non-attachment teaches that the present is the only moment you truly have. By releasing your grip on the past, you can bring your full attention to the here and now, where growth and healing are possible. This presence allows you to live more intentionally, guided by the lessons of the past, without being confined by them. The practice of non-attachment also deepens your understanding of interconnectedness. Mistakes often feel isolating, as though they set you apart from others. But when you release attachment to the idea that your mistakes define you, you begin to see that everyone shares the experience of imperfection. This recognition fosters a sense of connection, reminding you that you are not alone in your struggles. It also encourages compassion, both for yourself and for those who may have been affected by your mistakes. Another profound aspect of non-attachment is its ability to cultivate freedom. When you cling to the past, you limit your ability to see new possibilities. The weight of old identities and narratives clouds your vision, making it difficult to embrace change. Non-attachment clears this fog, allowing you to approach life with openness and curiosity. This freedom is not about escaping the past, but about transcending it, finding new ways to grow and thrive. Non-attachment also helps to break cycles of fear. Fear often arises from a belief that past mistakes will repeat themselves, creating anxiety about the future. By letting go of attachment to past outcomes, you reduce the power of this fear. You begin to see each moment as an opportunity to make different choices, guided by the wisdom you have gained. This perspective replaces fear with confidence, empowering you to move forward with clarity and purpose. The journey of non-attachment is not about erasing the past, but about integrating it. Mistakes are not something to be forgotten, but something to be learned from. Non-attachment allows you to take the lessons from the past while leaving behind the weight of regret. This integration creates a sense of wholeness, where every part of your journey is honored without being clung to. It is a way of living that embraces both the beauty and the challenges of life, finding meaning in every moment. Through non-attachment, you also come to understand that healing is not about perfection, but about progress. Letting go of past identities tied to mistakes does not mean you will never struggle with them again. It means that when they arise, you have the tools to release them with kindness and grace. This ongoing practice is a testament to your resilience, a reminder that growth is not a destination, but a continuous process. Ultimately, non-attachment is about reclaiming your power. When you let go of the past, you take back control of your narrative. You are no longer defined by what has happened, but by how you choose to move forward. This empowerment transforms your relationship with yourself and the world, allowing you to live with authenticity and freedom. Non-attachment is not a denial of your journey, but an affirmation of your capacity to rise above it, embracing the infinite possibilities of the present moment. Letting go of the past through non-attachment frees you from the burden of mistakes and regrets. But sometimes, even after releasing old identities, the emotional remnants of guilt and shame linger. These feelings can be stubborn, hiding deep within and influencing your thoughts, actions, and sense of self. To truly heal, it is necessary to address these emotions directly and transform the energy they hold. Meditation becomes an essential tool for this process, offering not only clarity, but also a pathway to release the weight of guilt and shame, allowing you to reconnect with a lighter, more centered version of yourself. Meditation begins by creating a space of stillness, where the mind is given permission to rest from its endless cycles of overthinking. Guilt and shame often thrive in this mental noise, fueled by repetitive thoughts and self-criticism. In meditation, you are not asked to ignore these emotions, but to bring them into a space where they can be observed without judgment. This practice shifts your relationship with these feelings, reducing their intensity and allowing you to approach them with curiosity and compassion rather than fear or avoidance. One of the most effective meditation techniques for releasing guilt and shame is mindfulness meditation. In this practice, you bring your full attention to the present moment, focusing on the sensations of your breath or the rhythm of your body. When guilt or shame arises, mindfulness invites you to acknowledge these feelings without pushing them away or holding on to them. You might silently label them, "This is guilt," or "This is shame," as a way of naming and understanding them. This simple act of recognition disrupts the cycle of identification, reminding you that these emotions are temporary visitors rather than permanent aspects of who you are. Compassion meditation, often referred to as metta or loving-kindness meditation, is another powerful practice for emotional healing. This technique involves directing goodwill and warmth toward yourself, especially toward the parts of you that feel burdened by guilt or shame. You can use phrases like, "May I be kind to myself," or "May I forgive myself and find peace." These affirmations, repeated silently or aloud, create a sense of emotional safety, allowing you to soften the harsh inner dialogue that often accompanies guilt and shame. Over time, this practice rewires your inner narrative, replacing self-criticism with self-compassion. Another meditation approach is body awareness, which helps to identify where guilt and shame are stored physically. Emotions often manifest in the body, creating tension in the chest, stomach, or shoulders. In body scan meditation, you direct your awareness to each part of your body, noticing any areas of discomfort or tightness. As you breathe into these areas, you may visualize them softening and releasing. This practice not only alleviates physical tension, but also helps to process the emotional energy that has been held within. Visualization techniques in meditation can also be transformative for releasing guilt and shame. One method involves visualizing these emotions as tangible objects: a heavy stone, a dark cloud, or a tightly wound rope. As you breathe deeply, you can visualize these objects dissolving, being carried away by the breath, or transforming into something light and gentle. This imagery helps to externalize the emotions, making them feel less overwhelming and more manageable. It reinforces the idea that these feelings, while significant, are not immovable and can be shifted with intention. Meditation also creates a sense of perspective, reminding you of the impermanence of emotions. Guilt and shame often feel all-encompassing, as though they will never fade. Meditation offers the experience of sitting with these feelings and observing how they ebb and flow. This practice builds trust in your ability to endure emotional discomfort, knowing that it will eventually pass. This understanding fosters resilience, giving you the confidence to face difficult emotions without becoming overwhelmed. For those who struggle with deeply rooted guilt or shame, guided meditations can provide structured support. These meditations often include prompts or affirmations that help you explore the sources of your emotions and release them with compassion. A guided practice might encourage you to revisit a past mistake and view it through the lens of understanding, asking, "What did I learn from this experience?" Or, "How can I forgive myself for being human?" This guidance can be particularly helpful when starting out, as it provides a roadmap for navigating complex emotions. Breathwork is another integral part of meditation for emotional healing. The breath serves as an anchor, grounding you in the present moment and calming the nervous system. When guilt or shame arises, focused breathing techniques can help to regulate your emotional state. Deep diaphragmatic breaths, where the inhale expands the belly and the exhale is slow and controlled, signal safety to your body and mind. This physical response creates a sense of calm, making it easier to address difficult emotions with clarity and compassion. Journaling as a complement to meditation can also deepen the healing process. After a meditation session, writing down your thoughts and feelings provides a space to process what arose during the practice. This act of putting emotions into words further externalizes them, allowing you to gain insights and perspective. Journaling can also be a way to track your progress, noticing how your relationship with guilt and shame evolves over time. This combination of meditation and reflection creates a holistic approach to emotional healing. One of the most profound gifts of meditation is its ability to reconnect you with your inner wholeness. Guilt and shame often create a sense of fragmentation, as though parts of you are broken or unworthy. Meditation reminds you that beneath these emotions lies an unchanging core of goodness. This realization is not about denying the impact of mistakes, but about recognizing that your inherent worth is not diminished by them. This perspective creates a foundation of self-acceptance from which true healing can arise. Meditation also helps to cultivate patience with yourself. Healing from guilt and shame is not an instant process, and progress may feel slow at times. Meditation teaches you to sit with this discomfort, offering yourself the grace to heal at your own pace. This patience is an act of self-compassion, acknowledging that growth takes time and that each step, no matter how small, is meaningful. It is a practice of trusting the process, knowing that healing is a journey rather than a destination. As you deepen your meditation practice, you may notice that your relationship with guilt and shame begins to change. These emotions, once overwhelming, become opportunities for growth and understanding. They reveal areas where care and attention are needed, guiding you toward greater self-awareness and compassion. This transformation is not about erasing these emotions, but about integrating them into your journey in a way that empowers rather than hinders you. Meditation for emotional healing is not a one-time practice, but an ongoing commitment to your well-being. Each session builds on the last, creating a cumulative effect that strengthens your resilience and deepens your connection to yourself. It is a practice that teaches you to meet your emotions with kindness, to honor your journey without being defined by it, and to embrace the freedom that comes from releasing what no longer serves you. Through meditation, you find not only the tools to process guilt and shame, but also the courage to move forward with a lighter heart and an open mind. Forgiving yourself for past mistakes isn't a destination, it's a journey where you transform guilt into growth, regrets into lessons, and suffering into self-compassion. Through the wisdom of Buddhist teachings, we've explored how mistakes are simply part of being human, how suffering can guide us to a deeper understanding, and how practices like mindfulness, loving kindness, and non-attachment can free you from the chains of self-judgment. Remember, you are not your mistakes. You are the strength that learns from them, the compassion that rises beyond them, and the wisdom that carries you forward. This path is not about erasing the past, but embracing it as a teacher. Whether it's reframing regret with acceptance, breaking the cycle of shame, or finding peace in impermanence, every step you take toward self-forgiveness is a step toward freedom. You deserve to feel lighter. You deserve to let go. If this journey resonated with you, share your thoughts in the comments below. What was the most impactful insight for you? Or share how you've started your own process of self-forgiveness. Your words may inspire someone else. Let's build a community of healing and growth together. And if this video brought value to your life, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you never miss the next step on this journey of inner peace and wisdom. Until next time, take care of your heart and keep moving forward, one moment, one breath, and one act of self-kindness at a time.